Chapter 8:21. I fly forward over the jungle with no specific goals in mind. If I were to go all out, I could fly around this arena in a matter of seconds and gain enough points to pass to the main event, so there is really no rush. My curiosity is more so focused on the white pillars of light and geo points on my mini-map pinpointing the nearest duel, shop, gift, and challenge areas. Even further in the distance, I watch one of the pillars disappear, and another form out of the corner of my eye, making this the center of my focus even further. I decide to head toward the closest pillar labeled Duel, letting a burst of mana and ether out from my steps as I fly through the air, leaving a small trail of fire to keep up a minor facade. My bright footsteps are quickly noticed, and I run into many creatures that climb up from the trees or change their flight paths after winning other battles in the air. Though I don't pay them much mind. If I'm faster than them, I just continue forward, but if they're too aggressive or clearly angry or unintelligent beasts, I throw a fireball just like I did at the Rhino monster their way, and one-shot kill half a dozen second-class lords over the next few minutes. Many notifications ring in my head as I fly through the air, and I make sure to circle back and fly through the clouds of mana and ether as they disappear, allowing Run to absorb the extra energy. A final notification goes off as I touch down in a rocky grassland region with very little trees, and a few fast-flowing streams of water in the distance. Kill confirmed. Points awarded, 3. Total points, 26. Almost every one of the kills on the way over already had points stacked themselves. At this rate, there will be tons of double-digit point holders flying around. This also means tens of thousands of lords have already been eliminated. Though I don't think on it too much, I just stare at the white glowing pillar in the distance with an earth golem and a lizard man approaching it on either side. They're both second-class lords, and have 4 and 6 points respectively. Bright ether commands light up over both of them, and the pillar fades away, creating a small dome about 2 kilometers wide, with a bright green 8 over its top. Inside the dome, both lords only have a 1 over their heads, and they don't waste any time in starting their battle. I curiously watch for a few seconds, floating above in the sky about 5 kilometers away, and watch the earth golem overpower the lizard man using a heavy hammer. Not too long later, the lizard man is defeated and disappears in a white mist, but when the dome around them fades, the lizard man returns. He has a 1 over his head still, while the golem holds 9 points. More information about the dueling pillars comes up in my mind, as I viewed it at close enough range, and I understand now that both parties can put whatever they wish up for a gamble, but if they lose, they are not eliminated entirely from the event. Well, that's a bit boring. I murmur to myself, flying forward and letting a massive ball of fire out from my palm to release it like a bomb on the ground. 2 loud notifications ring in my mind, bringing me up to 36 points while I touch down on the ground where the translucent light pillar once stood. All of the energy in the air twirls around and falls into Ren's body as I look toward the next biome, and lift off the ground again. The next region is mostly large bodies of water, with small spots of sand, and rocky islands. There aren't any lords in this biome either, so when I land down on a small sandy island in front of the next white pillar labeled Shop, I have it all to myself to examine. Notifications pop up, giving options of instant avatar upgrades, soul weapon purchases, and even the ability to change this pillar into a duel, gift, or challenge checkpoint, though the cheapest soul weapon is 50 points, and the avatar upgrade's cheapest option is 100. Changing this pillar type isn't worth the 250 points either, when there are more off in the distance right in my vision. This event is probably more exciting for those that a simple upgrade or soul weapon would make a huge difference in fights. I think to myself, keeping a telepathy link active with Run in case they wake up. After that dual checkpoint, Ren's leg's grip around my waist has gotten a bit tighter, but there is still no reply or signs of consciousness. As I fly through the air again off toward the nearest gift pillar, I wonder to myself if the avatar upgrades here would be permanent even after the event. For a normal lord, the opportunity here is great, even if they don't win or move on to the main event. The calm blue lakes of water begin to dry up as I fly further, and even become overpowered by the heat of the next biome. Lava pools and dark black rocks fill my view, sending white steam up into the air where the last remnants of this lake biome last. Though the heat doesn't bother me, I just head toward the white pillar on the horizon. There aren't many lords this far into the dome. It's so spread out now that I didn't see a single one in the last biome. Yet now as I approach this gift pillar, I sense 3 streaks of light from other surrounding biomes heading in the same direction. A serpent, a bird, and a humanoid monster with 6 eyes and gray fur, all first-class beasts, are what I see. On top of that, the clash of auras hits my senses right where I'm headed. There is already a first-class fiery salamander, and a first-class creature made of shimmering silver metal with no face, battling in front of the pillar in the volcanic region. I don't bother trying to interact with any of them, and fly straight into the white pillar to examine its commands. Gift checkpoint. You must stay inside for 10s to accept a gift. Start timer. 1. I hit the start button and read the additional information beside it, stating that if any other lord enters the pillar and selects the start timer themselves, the countdown is reset. In order to claim whatever gift is inside, I need to keep out any lords that wish to interfere for 10 whole seconds. 10. 9. A timer in my head begins counting down, but both the salamander and metal monster stop fighting and look my way. 8. 7. Then my mental countdown stops as both of them light up in a flaming greater form and a white glow respectively, and blast attacks my way, diving into the white pillar and disrupting its countdown. While I can easily tank the hit of a pillar of flames, or the 2 white curved crescents of energy from the metal monster coming my way, I'd rather not test Ren's luck. I let mana burst from my feet again, and twist out of the way, faster than either monster can see. 2 massive fireballs at the same strength I've been using in the past hit my targets, and I watch the metal monster and overgrown fiery salamander fall to the biome floor. The metal creature is caught in an explosion against black rock, and the salamander falls into a pool of fire, creating 2 massive blast waves, and returning the countdown from 10 in my head. Though, surprisingly, I don't hear the point system update, and grin when I see both of these beasts emerge from the flames of my attack. They each have horrible burning scars, limbs missing, and let out horrific roars. But I'm impressed. I may not be borrowing any stats, have an unconscious elf on my back, and have 3 celestial grade seals holding my true power back. But I still thought I had enough power in the blast to kill anything in the green zone of the upper realm other than nobles. Elite first-class beasts. These are like nothing I faced in the wilderness. I whisper with a grin. I guess I'll have to try a little harder. I raise my hands above my head and create 8 fireballs just as before, and send them flying down at the 2 beasts that fly up my way. The ground below me is completely annihilated by the destruction I throw down on it, incinerating all of the black rock structure that this white pillar was beaming down on, and letting the surrounding pools of lava flow in as these 2 beasts are torn apart and blown to bits. Kill confirmed. Points awarded. 17. Total points. 53. Kill confirmed. Points awarded. 22. Total points. 75. My eyes gleam with excitement as the countdown timer in my mind falls below 5. But I'm simultaneously surrounded by the new first-class beasts I sensed racing me to this pillar. I let out a laugh as it felt quite good to throw out those last balls of fire. It's been a while since I got to throw around attacks with even a hint of my true power, and the grin on my face grows as I feel the auras of this snake, white bird, and 6-eyed monster erupt into their greater forms with even greater strength than the lords I killed down below me. I waste no time in summoning dozens of balls of fire all around me, and even activate light magic to erupt outward, making the air all around me for a few kilometers full of a strange aura that distorts perception. When I throw the fireballs in the directions of my attackers, it takes far more mental strength for them to see what direction they're coming from, and not second-guess that it's all an illusion. The black serpent to my right glows with a yellow gleam in its eyes, erupting outward to a length over 300 meters long in its greater form. Its eyes are the sharpest of all, and I watch it slither through almost all of my attacks. Though, I can't help but smile as the back of its tail is hit by a large burst in the end, blowing a chunk of its flesh and scales off into the air. It does manage to let out an attack of its own through the chaos, sending a black and yellow ball of energy from its mouth, smelling of sour poison. The white feathered bird in front of me has exceptional eyes as well, but mostly uses its 60-meter-wide greater air magic form to twist and turn through the fireballs I throw at it. None make any direct hits, only the residue of flames tinges some of the feathers on its wings, but it is too occupied to manage sending any attacks back my way. The six-eyed beast to my right grows in size, pushing bulging muscles through its gray fur. It is some kind of body transformation, rather than an energy form. It charges straight my way, holding two massive axes, slicing the fireballs I send at it in half, and tanking a few direct hits when they prematurely explode. Massive burns and blotches of its fur are singed off, but its speed doesn't slow. This monster has extremely high strength and defenses. They all plunge into my light magic array without hesitating one bit, but I fly upward to narrowly dodge the snake's energy ball and charge up 24 more fiery attacks of my own. At this range, my accuracy is greater, and the strength of my illusions is more potent as well. I hit the serpent 2 times, higher up its greater form, closer to its head, sending more flesh and scales flying. One of my fireballs even hits the white bird's wing, burning away feathers and revealing frail bone. For the six-eyed beast, I concentrate every attack flying its way in a single spot, its right leg, and create illusions to make it believe I'm aiming for its head. Massive explosions light up the sky and create clouds of mana and ether residue that can be seen from many biomes away. It even clouds my own vision slightly. I charge up another 24 balls of fire, as this is about my limit without activating my own buffs or other skills, or pulling any borrowed stats. At this rate, it's going to take me 3 or 4 more exchanges to take them all out. Both myself and these monsters know it's true, yet their goal is to break into the pillar to disrupt the commands from triggering for me. I don't have to kill them on the spot. All I have to do is hold them off for another 2 seconds. I grin, releasing another relentless wave of fire, shaking the skies, and jumping upward even more to dodge attacks that come back from not only the snake, but wind crescents from the bird and 2 dark gray energy waves from the beast. The snake has to change its direct course, as my balls of fire would have hit its skull this time, and most likely taken out an eye. The bird dives downward, to avoid losing its ability to fly, as I attack its injured wing ruthlessly with no remorse. The gray beast has exposed bone on its right leg, and I attack there once again. Although it can handle this without it being fatal, it has to stop in place to block with both blades. I let out another loud laugh while summoning another 24 red burning suns above my head and throwing them forward, watching the 3 first-class beasts stop less than 500 meters in front of the white pillar. At the same time, as they block these massive bursts of fire, notifications ring in my ears. 1. 0. Select gift. A wide selection of soul weapons stream into my mind. They're all basic class, without souls of their own, or any unique features. However, they all give off the aura of premium-grade avatars. The gift being awarded here is extremely high quality, and with all of the side descriptions and preloaded ether commands that come with each one, I decide to pick the most flashy and destructive weapon I see and give it a try. It has a familiar shape to a weapon I fought against in the past, but never got the chance to use myself. I've been wondering what it'd be like to wield one since then. The white pillar fades away all around me, and at the same time I decide to let my light magic illusions disappear too, allowing the beasts I'm battling to see me perfectly clear, and face them the same without any tricks. A massive weapon begins to form in my grasp, even taller than myself, glowing bright with white light as a summoning ether command triggers, bringing this soul weapon from wherever it was stored straight to me, and bonding with my Grand Citadel avatar shell. At the same time, I watch the damaged serpent, flaming bird, and limping beast emerge from the walls of fire residue to all converge on me. A tiny human roughly 1/100th their size. However, I activate my own greater form, summoning a dark red energy barrier made of pure soul energy around my body. Ren stays secured to my back within the center of the energy manifestation. It only grows to about 30 meters in size, but this is more than enough and multiplies my firepower output over tenfold, growing the soul weapon in my grasp by over 10 times in size as well. None of the first-class beasts saw this coming, as their eyes widen and reflexive defensive techniques and ether commands activate. though they never stood a chance. The sound of chains rattling and fire crackling fills the air as I swing a massive spiked ball on a chain that glows red and white with fiery soul energy across my body. The snake, bird, and beast are all crushed like glass on impact, exploding into millions of pieces, their divine cores and avatars erupting into flames from the shockwaves. A massive portion of the volcanic region below me shakes and cracks like earthquakes are hitting it for over 100 kilometers in every direction, and a dinging sound in my inner ear confirms each kill, bringing my point total up to 184 in an instant. However, another portion of my mind is focused on the spectate feed that the admin on the outside shares with me. This is because I'm watching the last few seconds of this clash on rerun in slow motion, as the demonic servant running the arena event displays what I've done to millions watching. Chapter 822. Would you look at that? A new entry managed to break their way into the top 100 with a combo kill. An ingenious move there, using the gift checkpoint as a high ground and striking once the reward spawned in. The demonic servant yells out to all that are listening, pointing at the massive spiked soul weapon wrapped in red fiery aura breaking through 3 premium-grade first-class avatars. The demon zooms in further, showing my face and entry number at slot 97 on the leaderboards, and yells out again with an excited tone. And it's a human. I don't think we've ever seen one of those with a greater energy form before. Maybe you're all looking at a future main event challenger. Its voice breaks off and the displays of my ruthless attack turn off from the screen at the same time, and a massive mammoth lets out a roar in its place, fending off half a dozen other first-class lords at once, all in the top 100. On to bigger news. The rampaging mammoth has finally stopped. We're seeing it face opponents it can't kill in a single attack for the first time. Remember everyone, placing bets on entries is still available until the main event starts. The live odds are here. More visuals of this battle raging on are shown, and the display screen is split to show options to bet on other entries in the top 100. There is a separate pop-up window of the admin's personal bets on myself and Ren already selected as max. Looks like I'm already old news. I send to the admin through a telepathy link in a sarcastic tone. A few seconds of the mammoth's battle passes, then the point of view in the spectate feed is swapped again with another battle of a familiar berserker giant I saw earlier battling a spider, now facing off against a horde of 10 black serpents that look like the one I just finished off. Its massive blade slices through all of them in a single circular swinging motion, pushing it up to the number 1 slot on the leaderboards with over 3,000 points already. I let out a relieved sigh, looking at the notification in my own mind, showing that there are still over 48 minutes left, so I have plenty of time. My display may have been impressive, but there are still many more things watchers have their eyes on for now. I'm not the main spectacle. I slowly float around in circles, deactivating my greater form and letting Ren absorb all of the leftover residue from this battle above the lava pits, then keep moving onward toward the next pillar far off in my vision. The contact of this elf's chest on my back grows hot, as the increased ether absorbed this time has started some kind of reaction. My own body is growing hotter too, as activating my greater form in that battle certainly sped up the buildup of noble vibrations beneath my first seal. I take a few deep breaths to get it under control, but as I fly over to the next biome and start soaring over sand dunes, there is still a buzzing sound in my ear no matter what I do. Though, my attention moves away from this annoying noise once I watch the white pillar of light I'm headed toward fade away before my eyes. I squint and enhance my vision, but there's no sign of any other lords nearby to trigger it. Not wanting to waste more time, I pivot and change my flight path to enter a mountainous forest region a few hundred kilometers away next, where the nearest checkpoint lies again. Though once I get within range to start reading its information, it fades away too. I look around, expecting some invisible monster to attack me, but it never comes. A region full of translucent crystalline rocks is straight ahead with another pillar, and a volcanic region mostly filled with black mountains is off to my right. Both have more pillars in them as well, so I dart forward to see which one will be easier to claim. It's not like whatever is interfering can be at both places at once. However, a minute later, once I'm directly in the center of both, they fade away at the exact same time. My gaze tightens, and I look to the sky. Someone's messing with me, I murmur. In the admin's live spectate feed, I watch myself fall far below the top 100 mark in these few minutes that pass, as other monsters are more competitive, and the prize pools and odds constantly shift on the screen. The demonic servant looks very lively, commenting on more of the strongest monster battles. It all makes sense in this moment. I've flown too far away from the action. It may seem like randomized rewards, but in reality the only rewards I'll get are for putting on a show. There are certainly demonic servants behind the scenes manipulating this event in real time to make it more entertaining. Fine. If it's a show you want, I'll give it to you. I change direction entirely and begin doing some mental calculations, watching the live feeds of many monsters fighting and pinpointing explosions in the background of other scenes. It allows me to begin painting a mental picture of many new biomes and a mapping of this whole arena. I think you'll do. Let's see what kind of reward I get for taking out a beast in the top 10. I whisper while looking off over a dense swampland biome, but my gaze is staring over a dozen zones away. I pick up my speed and let trails of fire and ether linger behind me. A few more minutes pass, and explosions and clashing auras of other entries fly by above, below, and beside me. I block a few attacks with the swing of my new Spike Soul weapon, but don't engage in any fights. The majority of lords around here still have less than 50 points, and the occasional one over 100 is occupied fighting others. My vision stays pointed forward, at a massive cloud of dust on the horizon. I can see it with my real eyes, and also in the spectate view of the admin in my mind. A grin grows on my face as the greater form of this beast sits at over a kilometer wide, made of a pure maroon-colored light, giving off natural intimidation that can be felt from multiple biomes away. I activate my own greater form again, glowing crimson and charging my ball and chain with fire while letting out a loud laugh, and flying through the now dozen other first-class lords trying to kill this beast. The mammoth I've been seeing on the big screen over and over is still at number 9 on the leaderboards now with 1,415 points. I don't hold back and swing my weapons across my body at its head, plunging down toward it, and the beast lets out a roar that shakes the whole dry and rocky region, turning its head with speed I wasn't expecting from an unintelligent monster this size. The flaming spiked ball hits one of its massive greater form's white curved tusks, and we're caught in a standstill, sending shockwaves through the air, and making the demonic servant viewing the match scream with excitement. The human is back. It looks like it wasn't a fluke. He's chosen on his own to face the undefeated mammoth. Will it be the end of him like all others that challenged it so far? Or will this lower race pull off another miracle? I grit my teeth at the announcer's words, and am blown backward by the force of my exchange with this massive woolly mammoth. Its true body inside its greater form looks to be over 40 meters long, larger than my entire energy form already. Now that I think of it, I even heard other admins talking about mammoths in the past. Its ether is far more refined and powerful than any other monster within my current perception. It feels very similar to the strength of the warlords back on Ellipsia before their new avatar upgrades. Whatever this beast is, it's certainly not using only the provided premium-grade ether commands. The rage-filled aura and animalistic roar coming from its open mouth as I fly backward through the air tells me this refined ether it's using is leaking out from its avatar on instinct alone. An even wider grin shows on my face as I watch its greater form tear up a few hundred meters worth of rocky land behind it, as the force from my hit sent it moving back as well. The announcer's eyes widen, and he takes advantage of this by hyping up the crowd further. The seats are still over 90% empty, but I can see some movement in them now, as they're getting a bit excited. However, as I gain my footing in the air again, and decide whether to use more ether in my next strike, or pull a small amount of stats to boost my strength, a familiar white pillar forms between myself and the mammoth that just regained its footing and has started to charge my way. Challenge checkpoint. Enter the pillar to join the challenge. 0/15 slots filled. This is clearly admin interference again. No way a checkpoint naturally formed in the middle of our clash. I think to myself while reading the descriptions and text boxes that pop up in my mind. At the same time, I see even more trouble approaching out of the corners of my vision. The dozen first-class monsters that were hunting this mammoth before now look at this situation with even brighter gleams in their eyes, as they see me as the perfect bait to distract this beast and take the points it's holding for themselves. Chapter 8:23. You've entered the challenge. 1/15 slots filled. 2/15 slots filled. 3/15 slots filled. Notifications ring in my mind as I fly forward through the pillar again, clashing my spiked mace against the massive mammoth's tusk that is easily 10 times as long as my greater form. This beast, myself, and Run on my back have all entered this challenge pillar that has been strategically placed by admins crafting an entertaining show. Without using any borrowed stats or additional buffs, only using my greater form strength, the attack that slams into this monster's tusk and keeps us at a standstill again is actually my full power. There's an immense amount of mana control and pure, refined, low-quality ether still locked behind my seals, but I'm quite impressed by the brute strength of the beast. You're almost as strong as a noble. No wonder those admins were looking for more of you. I think to myself while flying backward again, watching the mammoth let out a roar, and being pushed back a few hundred meters as well for a second time. 4/15 slots filled. 5/15 slots filled. More notifications ping in my inner ear as streaks of weaker aura fly through the sky around me. 6/15 slots filled. 7/15 slots filled. 8/15 slots filled. All of the surrounding first-class lords that were trying to defeat this mammoth before see this challenge checkpoint as an opportunity they can't miss out on. I feel strong desire and greed in their auras, and believe there must be an ulterior motive to killing this mammoth than just to claim its points. They all seem to have a spark of intelligence in their eyes, so this urge to kill a monster clearly far too strong for them when they could stack points elsewhere spikes my curiosity. The slots fill all the way up in a matter of seconds. 15/15 slots filled. All slots filled. The challenge will begin shortly. The white pillar, now surrounded with many strong lords holding 100 to 300 points each, fades away, but a large amount of energy is released into the air. At the pillar's base, the ground turns a solid white coloring, and it pulses outward with extreme speed, covering this entire rocky region in a layer of pure ether commands. At the biome's borders, it bursts upward as well, trapping all 15 of us in a white cage that connects to the top of the dome with no escape. The ringing in my ears echoes out again. 5-minute challenge event. Battle Royale. Survive until the end, and claim your prize. 1. A massive zero hovers high in the air, about 100 kilometers in the sky in line with where the pillar stood moments ago, and below it, a massive visible 5-minute clock counts down. I read out the higher detailed descriptions popping up in my mind, but the announcer showing this feed live to those watching in the arena outlines exactly what I see. A special challenge event has been triggered between the mammoth and the human, and it looks like even more lords are joining in. Images of each one of these lords, ranging from lizard creatures, 2 massive bears, a 10-armed chimera, a bird with bright yellow feathers, and all kinds of other first-class monsters even stronger than the 5 I faced near the gift pillar, appear one after another. It's going to be a 5-minute challenge, where none of the lords that entered can leave this zone. If a lord is killed inside the time limit, all of their points will be added to the prize pool, and they will be eliminated from the event like a normal kill. Another view of the crowded stands zooms by, but I don't have the luxury of enjoying the show like everyone else. I'm in the middle of this fight. I step upward through the air, avoiding half a dozen incoming attacks from various lords, and swing my massive greater form's spiked club across my body, landing a direct hit on one of the enormous winged creatures in the sky that looks like an overgrown black beetle. It takes all of my strength, but I still manage to crack through its outer layer of energy armor and send it hurtling backward at the brink of death. To my surprise, one of the other lords in the flurry sends 2 blue crescents of water magic its way from another direction, and slices it in half using the weak points I created to finish the kill. A flash of white light dissolves its corpse in an instant, and a loud ding sounds throughout the dome, changing the 0 above us to a 166. Not even 10 seconds into this match, and we already have our first kill. The live feeds move back to the battle and show a replay of this stolen kill. My gaze meets the enormous humanoid tortoise creature wielding 2 blue daggers, but my mind is occupied with the announcer's next words. It will be a death match for everyone inside. But this doesn't have to end with only one remaining. Whoever is left after the timer hits 0 will share the pool of points equally. However, depending on the difficulty of your trials inside this event, an additional unique prize will be granted to each winner of this challenge. Best of luck, fighters. And do not forget to place your side bets. Live odds for this mini challenge are available now. I roll my eyes and fly forward through the air, swinging my spiked mace again to slam against the blue tortoise's daggers. It managed to block my attack, but it sent flying backward a few kilometers. While I don't feel any backlash, my gaze is focused on the mammoth coming my way again. It lets out the same roar, and its animalistic eyes lock with mine, filled with hot ether and rage, making me believe it doesn't even know this challenge has started, and I'm just another fight in its long life of survival and brutal battles to the death. This makes me grin wider than I have in a long time up here in the upper realm, swinging my spiked ball downward again to clash with the mammoth, creating a shockwave that sends all of the other challengers flying backward from the force. I let out another laugh, as it feels like I'm finally stretching my arms and legs out after a long nap. Massive red and maroon auras clash, and explosions of enormous fire bursts come off my spiked ball after every impact, but we're evenly matched. Streaks of white ether flow from my back, but the same visuals can be seen trailing behind the mammoth's tusks. The announcer goes wild, zooming in on our every exchange as a battle of greater magnitude than ever expected rages on. Another hit, and another. This is the strongest human I've ever seen in my 9,000 years of life. I can't believe it. The mammoth's roars carry waves of natural intimidation in them, and one of the humanoid lizard lords falls from the sky, passing out from the pressure, and is trampled by the mammoth after being sent flying back from one of our exchanges. The number in the sky updates to A390, and the announcer's words echo in my ear through the spectate feed again. Not even the Emerald Lizard race's elite warriors can withstand the aura of this clash. Incredible. At the same time, a yellow-feathered bird I saw before this match began swoops down at me while I'm flying backward from the recoil of my last exchange. I swing my ball on a chain faster and twist through the air to make a direct hit against the bird's glowing white beak. An ear-piercing squawk is drowned out by the explosive flames, and two dinging sounds in my ear. Kill confirmed. 214 points added to challenge total. The 390 ticks up to 604, and through the clouds of fire, the white tusks of the mammoth come at me before I even reset my footing in the sky. Even though my physical prowess is suppressed, my mental clarity and calculations are still far superior to what they should be. Deep within my mind, noble vibrations are still aiding my perception. I grin and kick off the air to dodge one of the tusks, and swing down on its head. My pure soul energy aura clashes with this beast's, but I still can't break through it. There are instinctive ether defenses forming all over its greater form's body, and even now, colliding with the center of its forehead, we're still stuck in a standstill. I smirk, thinking to myself, fine, I'll borrow a little strength, and pull stats from a few first-class worlds. If I were to pull 65% from the hundreds of thousands of worlds I have access to, I could kill everything in this entire arena before I blink again. Even activating my astral form would be overkill and show my true strength too early. My generals are still adapting to their environment. I can't fully expose myself until the time is right. With restraint in mind, mana surges into me as I take about 1/10,000th of the stats and extra mana control I have available to me, and the soul weapon in my grasp glows bright red and pushes out a menacing aura. So much so that the mammoth's feet are crushed into the ground below us momentarily, cracking the thick crust of this rocky biome. However, that's not the only thing that cracks. I feel this massive amount of aura breaking limits of this basic class soul weapon, and small fractures form in its surface. It has self-healing commands already pre-purchased, but they can't be activated mid-swing. My smile grows even more, and I borrow even less stats, letting my mana recede back into my greater form and out of the attack. However, I stay firmly in place while the mammoth takes the full recoil. Many of the first-class lords that withstood the pressure before see this as a perfect time to strike when the beast is weakened, but they're sorely mistaken. 3 first-class lords are caught up in the monster's rage as it twists its head around, shattering their entire avatars with a single strike from its tusks. I fly upward and away from the raging beast, activating the self-healing commands on this soul weapon, and watching the prize pool soar up to 1,198. Replays of my first successful landed hit on the mammoth's head are shown on the live screens, and the brutal instant kills afterward are shown too. However, as the glowing light white heals the cracks all over this spiked mace, the demonic servant announcer zooms in on me floating in the air much further than he ever has in the past before, so far in that the imagery of Ren asleep on my back is visible. My sharp eyes look directly at the portion of the dome that is recording me, then dive back down toward the mammoth, ready to take it out for good now that I know my weapon's limits. Chapter 824. Red and white streaks of aura light up the sky, and biome-shaking shockwaves fill the air as my massive spiked club collides with the mammoth's tusks, and every few attacks I manage to collide with its main body. Ripples of fiery aura leave marks in its greater form, but the attacks are never strong enough to break all the way through. I have to use less power to not shatter my new soul weapon, and dodge out of the way to not put Ren in danger from getting hit by the mammoth's counterattacks or any stray energy beams from the remaining first-class lords in the sky. What I didn't expect is that once I get far enough away, and take the few seconds necessary to heal, the crimson patches of flames on the mammoth's hide are engulfed in white ether, and are healed just as fast. Well, you're going to be even tougher than I thought, comes out of my mouth while twisting away from another one of its counters, and slamming my club into a multi-armed chimera beast with multiple heads and elemental abilities, waiting for me as it's been studying my movements. I am technically more vulnerable the moment after impact with the mammoth, as my soul weapon is not fully intact, but a few small fractures don't mean much when I'm not trying to break through this monstrous creature's ether defenses. The premium-grade avatar of this chimera is shattered, and in the same swing as I jump upward, I tear through a bright green lizard holding 2 heavy spears. Kill confirmed. 264 points added to challenge total. Kill confirmed. 170 points added to challenge total. Notifications ring in my ear as the prize pool increases to 1,632, and the live clock below it ticks down below 3 minutes remaining as I heal my soul weapon again. Watching the live spectate feed play on in the back of my mind, zoomed in extra far on my greater form again. It looks like there's not only one human, but 2. Maybe they were hit by some sleeping technique, or the aura in this battle is too strong for them to handle. This is getting more exciting by the minute. The announcer goes on to advertise the betting odds again. Then in the downtime while myself and the mammoth heal, the live feed cuts to the rank 1 berserker giant battling an enormous black golem's greater form in an icy mountain range, destroying multi-kilometer tall peaks with every clash. Their battle looks just as intense, possibly even more than the one I'm in right now. The feed switches again, and a bright white serpent clashes with a black one of a similar size on the surface of an ocean biome. It creates tsunamis, and the announcer shows more and more stats, keeping the crowds amused. My gaze darts back down to the mammoth. Then I'm disturbed by another few crescents of magic flying by that I need to dodge. At the same time, my opponent down below is hit by a few annoying bursts of magic too from the remaining first-class lords disrupting our battle. Despite the rage and focus in its glowing white eyes staring up at me, for a moment, we both share a single thought, and bursts of aura fill the atmosphere, followed by dinging notifications and trails of fire through the sky. Every last first-class lord in the air is eliminated by a single swing of my spiked mace, or a charged swing of the mammoth's tusks. The number in the sky ticks up further, stopping at 2,388, with still just under 3 minutes on the fight clock. It's a face-off now, just the mammoth and the humans. The announcer yells, switching the live feed back to our challenge. I don't waste a second, and attack with everything I have within the soul weapon's limits, swerving through the sharp white tusks of the beast and slamming a fiery hot ball of spiked ether into its side. Small cracks form in its greater form, and the sharp points of my mace break through its ether defenses slightly, but the pressure deeper into its greater form, closer to its real body, is too great. This basic class weapon can't withstand it no matter how much I want it to. Even if I can't kill you, I might as well have some fun. I yell out and fly all over the biome in curved arcs of fire. It looks like I'm bouncing upward after each hit, leaving trails of fire in long arching patterns for a few seconds each time to let the cracks on my weapon heal. In the live feeds, I see many lords actually watching with interest now, as before they didn't seem to care, but the announcer watching keeps showing replays of my attacks and is quite invested. Of course, the other two major battles between the Berserker and Golem, and the Serpents over the ocean are getting just as much screen time, but this fiery clash is certainly a spectacle for the over 10 million lords in the stands now watching. Some are extremely happy, as their side bets on this challenge event are already paying off, while others are standing up angry at the impossibility of a human lasting this long. I grin and continue to send attacks down at the monster below. It doesn't lose focus for a single moment. The beast's fierce white eyes are always tracking me, and its defenses are always perfectly placed to protect its vitals and blind spots. Even the amount of time it allows me to attack it when its tusks miss their first strike feels calculated. After a few dozen more exchanges pass, I come to the realization I'm not going to be able to defeat this monster without stepping it up a notch. There are certainly cracks in its armor, but none I can exploit without giving away the fact that I have power that could rival a noble demon. What I'm showing now is absurd, yet believable. One wrong move and I'll be outing myself as a real threat to the demons far too early. Soon. But not yet. I think to myself as I slam my spiked club down on the mammoth again. Over the final minute of this battle, the same actions repeat themselves over and over, making for quite the boring display. The announcer loses interest and focuses on the serpents as their battle ends with the glowing white one devouring the other and flying high above the sea, claiming slot 6 on the leaderboards. The Berserker and the Black Rock Golem continue to fight, destroying the snow biome therein as the Berserker slices it in half, but the black monster regenerates and sends dense black beams of light back at its opponent while reforming back together. Their positions as rank 1 and 2 on the leaderboards is large on the screen. 10, 9, 8. The timer in the sky above me starts counting down, and I manage to get 3 more full-powered attacks in on this mammoth, with no change. 1, 0. Challenge complete. Prize pool split. You've gained 796 points. Calculating prize options. Claim additional prize. As I read these notifications, the barriers around this biome fade away like it was never here, and I feel Ren's avatar vibrating on my back as the one above their head turns to 797. At the same time mine ticks up to 980. Interesting. I murmur, wondering how they'll claim the additional prize. 1 full rank avatar upgrade. Default. 1 full rank soul weapon upgrade AI. Select Elite Grade Basic Class Premium Grade Soul Weapon. Additional 250 points. Double point rewards for 100 seconds. Out of the corner of my eye while I'm reading my options to select, I see the entire greater form of the mammoth below me rippling with the same bright white light that Ren's avatar does, and realize they've both just received avatar upgrades. Our challenge is over, but that doesn't mean I want to give up on beating this monstrous enemy. I smirk and select the second option in my reward list, and the spiked mace in my grasp starts to glow bright white with ether commands that flow down from the sky. I see it from 2 points of view, as the live feeds watch me hold the growing soul weapon, wondering what the strange human will do next. The human passed up on the free avatar upgrade, and went for upgrading his weapon instead. Not the optimal move, as a weapon is only as strong as its wielder. These doubtful words only grow my inner excitement further, as I'm able to start borrowing stats from dozens, then even over 100 worlds of the mixed first and second class variety, almost 10 times more than this mace could withstand before. When the ether commands coming down from the top of this dome cease, and the deep crimson fire from beneath floods in, this entire biome becomes tinted in my aura. I push myself off the sky, down at the mammoth below me, and swing my spiked ball. The chains connecting it to the long handle I hold begin to multiply and lengthen, creating even more downward velocity until they stop getting longer. Instead of slowing down, The spiked ball disconnects from the chain and plummets down at its target with all of the stored energy I siphoned into it. I plummet downward behind it, not attempting to change my flight path because I have full confidence in my attack. This mammoth may have upgraded its avatar, but the defenses it's been using so far were purely instinctual, and I'm certain they're limited by the amount of pure ether stored in this beast's true mind, not the avatar's fake pool. I have an upgraded weapon attacking the same old target. My eyes widen with approval as the mammoth tries to block my attack with one of its tusks, but a loud cracking sound echoes through the biome. This time, it's not my sole weapon, but the monster's bone. I let out a laugh that echoes through the live feeds while my spiked ball of soul energy flames makes contact with the mammoth's body next, and fractures splinter through its entire greater form. A ball of fire tens of kilometers wide erupts into the air as its greater form breaks into thousands of fragments, and its true body is crushed under the weight of my aura. Kill confirmed. Points awarded, 2,211. Total points, 3,191. Congratulations. You're now placed in the top 10.
Seperksi.
Tons of information streams into my mind, and even more excited roars from a crowd, and the announcer's yells blur in the back of my consciousness. I just touched down on the shattered biome floor, where an enormous fiery crater has obliterated the entire center of this rocky wasteland. The flaming spiked ball at its center reconnects to the chains and handle in my grasp, and the plumes of mana and ether surrounding me start to twirl like an enormous whirlpool. Yet, I'm not pulling any of this energy in. As all of these notifications ring in my mind, and an increased volume of noble vibrations buzz in my ears, the overstimulation pushes me into a survival mode. My paranoia increases as I realize that display may have exposed me to the demons, considering I could have used half the power and got the same result. At the same time, I feel a murderous aura of killing intent stab into the back of my head, and tons of possible scenarios begin to formulate in my mind. I swing my fiery soul weapon up in the air again, and prepare to face whatever it may be, but even as I turn, it tracks me with laser focus staying out of sight. Then I hear an angry feminine voice yelling in my ear. "Where are we now? And what have you done to my avatar? I can't move. You deceived me, didn't you?" My back grows hotter and hotter. Then I realize what's really happened. My eyes widen as I release the mana and purple divine energy constraints to the elf strapped to my back. A burst of bright white energy fills my field of view once I turn around to actually see Rin again. But an enormous white greater form begins to manifest before my eyes before I can get a single word out. Chapter 825. As I turn my head, a bright white greater form bursts out from Ren's avatar. It's made of pure ether, and its outer walls have the same unreadable outer layer as the body of this elf's avatar the last few times I've tried to scan through it. It works like a seal, but it's seamless, unlike the many layers and millions of twisting commands and threads of ether and divine energy I unraveled from Seraphel and placed on myself. Feels natural, like it's alive. I sense a warm aura coming off it, one that makes the ring on my finger burn, and my senses tingle with the same aura I felt facing nobles, and a similar feeling that comes from Ava, or the Berserker giant warlord that Ember is looking after. Though I don't get to analyze what's in front of me much, as another yell comes at me. Where are we? This isn't the wilderness. I don't recognize this biome. Even in the sorry state it's left in, I can tell we've been moved. Tell me what happened. What have you done? More killing intent streams out from the elf, and the greater form grows in size, surpassing my own energy form without stopping. This comes with the loud sounds of the demonic announcers having a field day at this turn of events. The human has done it again, survived the challenge and using the rewards to crush his enemy. Was he just holding back his power before? Waiting for the time his soul weapon could catch up? I thought only the elite first-class beasts had potential like that. We are truly witnessing a mutant. Replays of my final hit, obliterating the mammoth and a majority of the biome I'm floating over, are put on display as many in the crowds grow even more wild, and the demonic servant just laughs out loud, seemingly enjoying himself a lot. I, on the other hand, watch the hands of this elf's greater form grow hot, with chaotic and fine ether commands I recognize. similar to the small arrow this lord struck a first-class admin with and easily subdued them in the past without this greater energy form activated. Hey, I haven't deceived you at all. I can explain. I yell back, but the hot white glowing hands don't stop charging up further. I begin to recognize the flowing patterns, just as one of the memories that I siphoned from that elf, as they used what they're about to cast one time before. My eyes widen. I'm not your enemy. Your other half seems to trust me fully, so why don't you? That array you're threatening to unleash, the last time you used it, it didn't have the desired effect. There were 2 enemies that were immune. I take it I will be too, as my defensive capabilities may be similar to theirs. I recall the 2 noble demons on the home world of this lord, unaffected by Ren's attack. I do not know if what I've said is true, but I need to start on some kind of common knowledge, and cannot use certain words out loud, or a concealed whisper skill at such range. This only seems to make the elf angrier. How do you know of that day? You're one of them, in a human skin? Is that why you know of? I grit my teeth, deactivate all of the borrowed stats I took in order to boost my strength, and swing my spiked club across my body. Careful now. I yell as my attack makes contact with the White Lord's hot hands, sending rippling shockwaves of ether and eerie hot vibrations through this desolate biome. To my surprise, even though I toned down my strength, I still used enough to easily kill a strong second-class lord, and my spiked ball on a chain has been stopped in midair without any issue. My gaze turns upward, and upon contact of my soul weapon and this white avatar, I create a telepathy link and yell my real thoughts. The Fallen One, the Crimson-Eyed Dragon, the traitor, whatever you call him, you'll see him like I promised. I don't know the reason you desire this, but I know we have the same enemies. The demons. We're not in the wilderness anymore. I brought us to the inner city. Your other half is far more cooperative. We're being watched right now by every single demon in the green zone of the upper realm. We're both blown backward from the blast, myself with an annoyed look on my face as it's becoming more of a burden than a curiosity to keep Rin around, and the elf in question with a bewildered and still angry suspicious look plastered on their face. The announcer watching the fight, however, yells even louder with excitement than before. Oh no! It looks like the other human wasn't a weakling after all. Another mutant, a lower-class lord with far more power than expected. Though it seems they were not allies after all. How exciting! Visuals of that clash, and additionally, the arena seats filling faster than usual, show up on the screen. Since the challenge event started, the seating has risen from barely 5% of the stadium filled to closer to 20% now. The steady flow is rising, as millions of recordings of this oddity in the usually boring preliminary warm-up events have begun circulating around the inner city of the Grand Citadel. Run stops in midair, still staring me down with eyes that haven't lost their sharpness, but follows my gaze upward to the sky, thinking about what I've said very carefully before motioning with their hands ever so slightly to attack again. I leave trails of fire through the air as I collide with the Lord's white hands, and open our link again to hear a private response. If you're a demon deceiving me, I've already fallen into your trap. And if you're a human and we're truly in the arena event right now, we're both as good as dead already. I will repeat myself. How do you know of that day? And my wish to meet with the dragon? My gaze tightens again, but a bit of relief comes with it. So you've decided to reason with me. We don't have time to share every secret, and quite honestly I still have no idea who you are. Nor do I trust you, but someone I do trust has instincts that tell me we're meant to help each other. The goblin girl? Where is she anyway? And those admins, did you truly strike a deal with them? How is that possible without being a demon yourself? Yes, Ava is her name you've already met, and I have an ability that allows me to bring demonic servants back to their previous state. That admin that you remember was a berserker giant. They have as much trouble with the demons as you and I. But neither of these points are too important. You tell me why you wish to meet with the dragon, and I think our mutual goals will be a bit more clear. At this, we fly apart from the shockwave again, but I don't wait to counterattack. White and red streaks fill the skies, and our conversation continues every time our avatars meet. Why I wish to meet the dragon. Another foolish question. If you were a demon, you would already know it's to help him take revenge. And if you are truly a human, and your race is the one she placed her faith in, then you should already know what you must do. Ren's eyes meet where my purple ring rests on my right finger while transmitting these words, but I respond just as we're about to bounce off each other again. If you're talking about Celia, then it's true. However, it's not exactly me she placed her faith in, but the dragon that was with me when we met.
Impossible.
You couldn't have met her. She left to seek the highest zone. Well, considering she told me she only lived 800 years, and your memories of her seem to be much, much older, it may not have been her after all. I begin to feel a mood shift in this angry elf's demeanor, one I felt once before as we were walking through the black sand desert. The rage, suspicion, and killing intent is starting to fade away. I continue to speak as Ren's eyes widen, and waves of confusion rush in, as it seems I've struck a sore spot and this lord is having trouble digesting my words. We're on the same side. I'm here in the Grand Citadel to kill Muriel Vermilion. You may not know that name, but they serve below the Morvales, and they below the vanguards that took your world. I promised you'd get to meet my soul-bonded partner, so I hope once I speak to you again, you do not try to kill me. The greater form around Ren begins to fade, and I have to channel far less energy into my soul weapon in order not to injure them. But another reply comes back. Light elves are complicated. Unlike the darks that can live forever as long as they train their souls, we can only live as long as our lifespans let us. Our dormant states are hardly our other half, or considered living despite being able to exist for eternity too. So, as cooperative as she may be, I hope you don't expect me to keep any more promises you make with her. The entire greater form fades into white mist, and a small white-haired elf falls through the sky with an indifferent expression on their face. Ren's eyes return to their dull white state, and a light glow hums beneath their feet as the descent downward slows. I retract my soul weapon and deactivate my greater form while following, then touch down lightly in front of the small lord face to face in the center of the crater in this biome. The elf speaks in a quiet and confused manner. So we're in the arena now. A light smile and silent stare with no emotions at all looks right through me. Before I saw this act as a docile and scared frail lord, but now I don't know what to make of it. The images in the spectate feed in the back of my mind have already swapped back to the Berserker Giant and the Black Golem, as well as the White Serpent now stalking a scorpion monster ranked 5th on the rankings. My mind wanders, but one thing does stand out to me. It's the fact that I'm now ranked number 7 on the live leaderboards, and as I turn my head away from the robotic elf and look around this arena, I see 9 red pillars of light that were not there before. Unlike the white pillars, these have faces and point values attached to them, and they are moving. Some toward each other and some toward myself. It appears everyone in the top 10 has the pleasure of knowing the other's exact location, and how many points they have to steal. I run forward and scoop Ren off their feet again, and place the small white-haired lord back on my back, held on by mana and purple divine threads. Well, like it or not, you're my responsibility until my business here is done. Hold on. Chapter 826. As I look around I see the 10th ranked beast at 2008 points, with the head of a lion and a massive muscular body covered in red fur, less than 1,000 kilometers away, just 3 biomes to my right. To my left, the first-ranked Berserker Giant now holds 9,451 points, and the second-ranked Black Stone Golem holds 7,971 points. In between, filling my view, are the exact coordinates of the rest of the top 10. The Move On to Main Event button is now fully lit up in my vision, as I've reached the 1,000-point threshold to do so. However, the total time remaining in this arena event is still over 30 minutes. I recall the announcer saying something about how holding more points now will help us in the main event, and I'm quite curious how. In addition to this, Ren still does not have 1,000 points, and I do not want to get separated right before I get my answers about what this elf really is, and their true purpose for crossing my path. I send another message through our telepathy link while jumping up into the air and leaving this destroyed biome in a trail of fire through the sky. Yes, indeed we are in the arena now. I just had another pleasant chat with your other half, and I don't know if we've made more progress or if they will want to kill me even more the next time we meet. Though for now, read the rules of this tournament. There should still be an option to re-examine them in your avatar settings. I need to find a way to get you points, and meanwhile, I'm gonna have to fend off a few more monsters like the one I just fought here. I let out a sigh while leaving the smoldering rocky wasteland behind and heading straight toward the mutant lion. As our paths grow closer, the other top 10-point holders become occupied in their own battles as well. Though, my next battle with the beast I'm hunting in the heart of a desert biome with red rocks and canyons does not last long either. Kill confirmed. Points awarded. 2008. Total points. 5,199. These are the notifications I hear after I activate my greater form and charge my spiked mace to shatter the mutant lion's avatar in a single swing. That mammoth was 10 times the beast you were. I murmur to myself, while touching down right where its white mist fades, expecting it to swirl around me like before. But it seems Run does not need the nourishment now that they're conscious again. You're stronger than I thought. No wonder she didn't kill you. She couldn't. Is what I hear back whispered in my ear. I charge my eyes with ether and jump upward again, as I watch my live ranking push its way up to 4th place in a single battle. Though my sight looks past the other red pillars and is far more focused on the straggling second-class lords around the less busy zones. There are still thousands of lords in this tournament, many with single and double-digit points, fighting for a chance to get an avatar upgrade or something profitable, not daring to actually enter the main event. Yes, it's quite strange. I can feel your true strength. It is actually lower than your other halves. I don't understand it, but I don't have to in order to believe it, though I guess it doesn't matter either. You still need points, so get ready to fight. I send through our link again while touching down in the middle of a jungle 5 more biomes away after a full minute of travel through the skies using my greater form. I can see 2 red pillars coming in my direction, but we have time. When we land, I loosen Ren's hold on my back, and they face the group of unintelligent giant toad lords. There are 4 of them, all second class and all with a few dozen points. They have strange elemental auras coming off of them, but we're less than 2 biomes from the outer wall of the dome. I presume they haven't moved far at all, and the elf can handle this threat. Go on, fight them. I want to see what you can do. I speak while motioning for them to fight the fat creatures with beady eyes that look in many directions. A robotic nod is returned to me, and Ren lifts both hands to glow light white. I cross my arms and watch, and the white-haired lord jumps through the air, using very robotic and rational motions to strike the toads. They resist and even counterattack with their webbed feet and long tongues. One of them spits fire, another poison, and 2 of them water. Yet, every hit Ren lands, small blotches of white ether are left on their avatars. While the 4 toads' raw strength is far greater than this frail elf, light magic illusions are used to make it seem like they're in places they're not, even disappearing before the toad's eyes many times. The long tongues and mindless attacks destroy a portion of the jungle around us, but within 3 minutes, all 4 second-class monsters are eliminated, and the elf comes walking back toward me with an indifferent expression, like I'm staring at a robot. My arms are crossed, but I nod approvingly, matching all of these movements and fighting styles to the many memories of Ren wandering and surviving alone in the wilderness of the Citadel. Good. Now it's my turn. I reply while turning around, watching 2 red pillars clash a few biomes away to my right, but to my left, another lone pillar approaching fast. Kill confirmed. Points awarded. 2,318. Total points. 7,517. Another single hit crushes the 9th place Emerald Lizard Lord, using half the borrowed stats I used to take out the mammoth. My own placement moves up to 3rd. I turn away from the other red pillars fighting, then off far in the distance to the 1st and 2nd ranked still at it, further than I can see all the way on the other side of the arena. Come on, there's plenty of stragglers on the way. You'll get the points you need, and I'll get the fight I want. I look up to the top of the dome and bear a thin smile, thinking, and you'll get your show. Then carry Ren onward, toward a pair of mutant bears with thick gray fur and long white teeth that roam a cold mountainous biome, mindlessly looking for their next prey. One has 16 points, the other 105. As we touch down, and I stand back on the snowy mountain's edge to watch this fight play out to satisfy my amusement, minutes pass. I could easily intervene and make things easier, but I see no point. I'm getting a live view of everything else interesting happening in the arena through a spectate feed in my mind. I'm in no rush to fight until the strongest of a certain duel makes themselves known. In the meantime, I'll watch the stands fill up with more and more lords as rumors of two humans with the potential to make it to the main event spread through the Citadel like wildfire. The stands around the massive arena are over a third filled. The admin's voice in my head confirms my suspicions. Usually, they don't begin to fill until an hour before the main event, although this is a particularly unique preliminary round. Without your fight with that mammoth, half these lords wouldn't have showed up. I reply to the admin, watching Rin defeat the smaller of the two mutant bears. That mammoth was tough, far stronger than a good amount of these other top 10s. I bet it could have even fought that berserker giant for a few blows, though I did overhear some other entry state round one is for the weaker lords. Are those kinds of beasts common in the Grand Citadel? They certainly aren't back in Ellipsia. The live feed shows this berserker in question slicing through the black golem again and again, and the shadowy menace does not give up, sending beams of black energy and heavy punches back, destroying over 20 full biomes now since their brawl began. The admin replies, "Common? No. Available to those that control the upper realm, yes. It was an average strength mammoth. I've seen much stronger. There are many worlds closer to the source that still grow strong races like them, though they're the first to be targeted and controlled. Your kind doesn't know much about the demons because you've been too weak for them to bother oppressing you in any realm low or high. They don't fear you." There's a silence between us for a few seconds, and I watch Rin kill the larger bear while in my mind the berserker giant glows with a bright white light, stabbing the golem through the head and exploding it into pieces. They begin to come back together, but the monstrous greater form of this red-skinned battle maniac tears through the black stone creature, standing in its center while it tries to reform. A loud screech from the monster's jagged-toothed mouth echoes through the spectate feed, and also my ears, as the entire arena feels its presence. The dense dark green core within the golem is held in the berserker's grasp, then tossed in the air and caught in its mouth. A final crunch makes all of the black stone attempting to reform around this monstrous berserker giant fall to the biome floor, and the announcer goes wild, along with many cheers from the crowds that watch. My eyes fall back on Ren, as they now hold enough points to move on. I nod, and turn my head back to the screech, sending a final message to the admin watching from afar. Well then, I guess starting today, the demons will have one more race to fear. Chapter 827. I quickly scan the nearby mountain range and the few surrounding biomes. There are only a handful of second-class lords left around here. Any actual threats are all far deeper in the arena. The blank-faced elf walks toward me but stops as I nod with approval and speak up. You can survive on your own for a few minutes, right? My eyes track up to the sky and read the number left in this tournament. 21 minutes at most. If worst comes to worst, I guess you could select that option on your avatar to move on, but I'd prefer you stayed nearby until I move on as well.
Ren nods calmly.
I can do that. It's doubtful anything will come up here this late in the round. I nod too, looking to my side to see red pillars shifting about, and reply, "Yeah, if I leave, nothing else will come. See you soon." The elf sits in a comfortable position on the cold ground in front of where the two bear avatars dissolved and stares forward with an eerily blank expression, then shows a fake thin smile. Yes, see you soon. Even as I fly upward and leave this biome, Ren doesn't move at all, and none of the wandering lords nearby seem anywhere close. Just to make sure, I send fireballs down at the ground as I fly away, and make a quick circle through the surrounding biomes, killing a few dozen lords in the process and moving my total points up to 7,995. Even before this small detour, the fall of the Blackstone Golem pushed me up to the second place ranking without having to move a muscle. This, in turn, puts a target on my head for the first-ranked Berserker Giant. As, after it is done celebrating its victory and bathing in the white mist of the Golem's elimination, it turns in my direction. Just like myself and everyone else in the top 10, we do not have to fight. I see some of the red pillars disappearing, some from losing battles, and others from being satisfied with their point total and leaving while they still have their ticket to the main event. Unlike before when I was lower on the leaderboard, no one else in the top 10 is trying to come near me. It seems only one wants my head. The massive humanoid monster, holding a long sword, with sharp green eyes and a light white greater form made from pure ether and mana. It is here to battle the strongest enemies. It runs forward, still holding its greater form that towers hundreds of meters high, toward my red pillar without hesitating one bit. So I stop my hunt and fly through the sky and do the same. If I'm to meet that monster here, it would be far too close to Ran, and would defeat the purpose of separating in the first place. Just looking through the spectate feed alone, I can tell this is a whole different beast than that mammoth. The announcer begins to hype up what is about to occur too, as I see a greedy gleam in its eyes. And our undefeated number 1 ranked fighter is on the move again. He's done with the golem after their devastating brawl. I wonder who he'll target next. The live feeds have been distant from myself ever since we went off hunting lower-class beasts. However, there are many audible whispers in the crowds wondering about the human they heard rumors of. The announcer hears these whispers too and sees the trajectory of where this monster is headed, but wants to build the suspense. Imagery of the other top 10 monsters battling flashes by on the spectate feed, and the biomes flashing by below me fade away as I activate my greater form again and start to charge up enough borrowed stats and ether into my soul weapon, equivalent to the finishing move I used on the mammoth earlier. As I reach a comfortable state, I begin to hear an annoying humming sound partially drown out my senses. The buildup of noble vibrations is back, and this battle hasn't even started yet. Many possibilities for how I want this fight to end process through my mind, as I've been debating the same thing for days now ever since I entered into the center of the Grand Citadel in the first place. But as the announcer's next words ring through my inner ear past the humming building up behind my first seal, I come to a decision, thinking to myself, it won't only be the demons that fear humans once this is over, but in order to pull it off, I must give them a show. That anomaly, the mutant, the lower race, that is who the king of round 1 has chosen as his next opponent in the match. The human. Don't forget to place your bets before they clash. This rings through my mind as 2 visuals side by side in the spectate feed make themselves known. The first and second ranked fighters tearing through biomes to face each other. Though once I finally see the white aura of mana control and ether over the horizon, and my eyes lay on this monster rather than just through a screen, I do get a sense of awe for a moment. I've seen berserker giants in dungeons before and even scanned a few third, second, and first-class species back on Ellipsia that trained alone in their towers, and of course saw Zacian up close a few times as well, but now I'm seeing one unleashing its fury and not holding back. It stares me down like a piece of meat, an object to kill and move on. I did get to sense the first-class warlord's power for a split second after his battle with Andres Vermilion, though I only got to see him after, in an injured state, and back then I was using all of the borrowed stats available to me, as well as my noble human form. Staring at this berserker giant now, I get the feeling this monster is of similar base strength to the warlord, though it is lacking its new freedom avatar and the crimson aura I felt before leaving. This excites me, so I yell out for the recording devices to hear while swinging my ball and chain in a circle above my head. Finally, a real battle. All of the attention from the many lords that left their duties around the city because of rumors now look at their live feeds. It's really true, a human is in second place. I heard he took out a mammoth earlier in a single blow. I saw it. It wasn't a single hit, but he really did win. A human really beat one of the elite races. He won't beat a berserker. Besides the demons themselves, nothing can beat that race. It would be impossible. More talk from the crowds is captured live and publicized to those watching, as the gossip and chatter is what makes the show more interesting and sparks even more conversation between lords and even admins beyond the walls. I drown it out and focus on the screeching noise and jagged teeth of the green-eyed killer that jumps upward, using the base of a plateau in a plain biome as a foothold, crushing it and everything around for kilometers to fly into the sky to match my trajectory. Only a few seconds pass as we both fly past the final few biomes between us, but it feels much longer. I take breaths in and out, close my eyes, and solely focus on following out the plan I've devised. After my final slow breath out, I open my eyes and swing the spiked fiery ball across my body, colliding with the downward swing of this monstrous beast's sword. Our ether travels through our greater forms, into our soul weapons, and collides with each other, creating a shockwave more powerful than anything I've felt so far in this entire arena event. The strike I just threw shattered the mammoth to pieces with ease, yet both of us are at a standstill in the air, not a single crack on either of our weapons or greater forms. We're a few kilometers off the ground above a forest biome with tall trees and a few small lakes. But the shockwave knocks down every tree for dozens of kilometers and even empties a lake below. I see this Lord eye to eye now and feel its vicious nature radiating through its blade. It is far less sane and intelligent than the berserkers I've seen back on Ellipsia. This one is much closer to the mindless, battle-hungry monsters I've fought in dungeons. That being said, there's no point in expecting reason, conversation, or any rational thought. This thought process does me well, as the moment we both bounce backward from this blow, the monster steps off the air and counters before I can even catch my footing. Its sharp white blade aims right for my back, but I twist and dodge out of the way just a split second before getting cleaved in half. I swing my spiked ball downward in the same motion, colliding with the sword again as it's already moved to track me in the air. The spiked ball is pushed backward and I have to dodge again. I grin and let out a laugh while pulling borrowed stats from a few dozen more worlds. It makes the buzzing noises in my ears immediately grow louder, but this is enough to move out of the way and counter with another move that stops us in midair again over another lake, evaporating it in the blink of an eye from the shockwave of white ether and fire. The same phenomena I felt with the mammoth is happening with this enemy. Raw instincts have pushed the ether it's refined deep within its true being out of this premium avatar that can't hold it back. There is far more than just preset ether commands being used. The smile on this mad monster's face grows wider and wider. As it realizes it's found someone that can keep up with it, I too am using more than just preset avatar commands. But it doesn't understand this. All it sees is an enemy that will allow it to improve and grow stronger by pushing its limits. We clash again while it lets out a screech, and slow-motion recordings and visuals of the fight beginning are broadcast to over 50 million lords in the Grand Citadel watching live. They all grow silent. Even the announcer's eyes go wide and he's lost for words in the first few seconds of battle. However, as the slow-motion visuals of more and more exchanges are shown, and the entire forest biome is leveled to flat dirt, the announcer finally speaks. It seems I was wrong. The round one king is yet to be decided. The berserker's raw strength and battle prowess might be matched. This could be a once-in-a-millennium, no, a once-in-10 millennia event. A fifth-class human truly exchanged multiple clashes with a first-class berserker giant from a world located in the star cluster of the elites. The silence in the crowd breaks, and excited and angry roars erupt around the seats that are filled about 40% now. Mass messages and recordings of what is taking place are sent throughout the Grand Citadel again, confirming and spreading the rumors from before even further. Chapter 828. We fly through the air in jagged patterns, passing over other biomes and destroying them with shockwaves just the same as we did the forest we started on. The sharp-toothed grin on this monster grows with every clash, and I have to continuously add more and more borrowed stats to the point where I've already doubled the output I used in my finishing move against the mammoth. The berserker giant is either getting stronger with every blow, or still warming up and testing its limits on me. Either way, it seems to really be enjoying itself. The announcer playing back visuals and the crowd watching, on the other hand, have mixed reactions. Their silent shock did turn to excitement at first after I blocked the first few blows. However, as dozens of exchanges pass, and multiple biomes surrounding us get obliterated by crescents of white ether from the berserker's sword and waves of fire that explode off my spiked mace, it turns to confusion and fear. How is this possible? Can a lower race really be this strong? No, it shouldn't be. Maybe it's that soul weapon. It's not like he's been hit yet. It says it right here on his avatar profile. It's the premium basic class soul weapon, the highest grade given out in the arena events. It's nothing a hardworking second or first class lord couldn't manage to acquire in their lifetime. The Berserker is using a relic class blade from the Elite Star system. That human's advantage isn't his weapon. Maybe it's a unique skill. Humans are usually weak, but they sometimes pop up with strange abilities. That's on his avatar profile too. Only fire and light summoning. How is he doing it? This has to be some kind of trick. They're putting on some kind of show. Who cares? Let's place more bets on him before he makes it to the main event while the odds are still good. The opinions of tens of millions of lords differ. Some angry, others still excited, confused, and fearful if the appearance of such a strong fighter means the start of another war either here in the Green Zone or a new energy-rich area in the lower realm. Despite the differences, every eye is glued to the holographic projections on the dome, and almost everyone in the Grand Citadel is aware of the fight going on. Full minutes pass, and I continuously raise the amount of borrowed stats I'm using in order to keep up with the monster's speed and raw force. I can't just jump up in power to finish this duel instantly, because I can feel the fluctuations of noble vibrations beneath my seal pushing against the insides of my body like a growing balloon. If I were to release too much pressure too quickly, it would pop in an instant. However, this slow release of more stats allows the Berserker to grow with me. I feel the heat of its ether increasing, and it feels like every time we clash the pool it pulls from grows deeper and more refined. Screeching rings out through the dome as it lets out battle cries, and we destroy over 30 full biomes in the center of the arena after 10 full minutes pass. Throughout it all, many notifications sound out in my mind, as our stray attacks kill many lords in the crossfire. There are even a few members from the top 10 with their own red pillars tracking them that get caught up and one-shot killed in the blast. The spectate feed shows many lords dying, but also many lords exiting the arena with enough points to move on. As the minutes pass, and the strength of each of our blows is over 4 times the limit I used to kill the mammoth, we're both sitting at slot 1 and 2 on the leaderboards with 22,308 points and 17,935 points. This monster's rate of improvement is quite scary. I can see a mirrored image of part of myself in this monster, as I observe it use every single attack I throw at it as a lesson. Its sharp green eyes are growing more aware of my movement style, and it also is beginning to sense when I borrow more stats and attacks with even more vigor when it knows the hit I'm throwing will be stronger. Its white greater form even begins to shift in color, turning slightly gray for reasons unknown to me as its pool of ether grows more refined. Now, every exchange we make sends us both flying back hundreds of kilometers in the air each time, and destroys entire biomes below us even when we're high up in the sky. I'm certain that Berserker has forgotten we're even in a tournament event. The focus it's showing now is like a wild beast enjoying their hunt. Everything else is black in its world, and I'm the main focus. For myself, my perception of reality is far beyond this battle's needs. In between each attack, I have plenty of time to contemplate my next moves, or even scan my surroundings to process background tasks. The only problem is my body's speed, and access to more mana and ether is suppressed, as the majority is trapped behind seals. In addition to this limitation, my only advantage is being chipped away at 2. Despite taking things slow, using this much power makes my vision foggy, my hearing blocked by buzzing sounds, and my overall energy senses clouded. I have to concentrate more and more on each swing to keep holding back that seal, so much that a pounding headache starts to creep in too. Though, on the outside, I keep a straight face and calm demeanor while perfectly countering every single one of the Berserker's moves. Dozens more biomes get obliterated, and I keep leading the battle far from where I came from, leaving Ran on the top of a snowy mountain cliff far from our Titans' clash. Hardly any other fighters stay in the ring, and no more cuts away from this battle are shown on the big holographic screen. It's only us. They've destroyed half the arena, but neither have landed a hit yet. Could this match really end in a draw? Or will one of them pull out a victory before the timer runs out? Only 3 minutes remaining. The demonic servant yells out as the seating in the stadium surpasses 50% of its capacity. A grin starts to grow on my face, as my vision is almost completely blurred, and the pressure in my head is building up. I can't really hear much of anything other than a loud buzzing in my ears, but I'm still able to stand my ground and use my battle instincts to picture what I'm fighting using vague shadows. Cracks have begun to form in my soul weapon again, as it's reaching its limit, about 5.5 times higher than the mammoth's final hit. I'm able to use the automated self-healing technique, and even use the ability to disconnect the ball from the chain to gain a few extra seconds in a few exchanges. However, the results are all the same. Every attack that passes by, the cracks grow larger than last time, and the buzzing in my ears grows louder. This is perfect for what I planned for. Having my soul weapon reach its limit was not what I was expecting, though it will add to what I'm about to pull off even more. The announcer catches onto my soul weapon as it takes a beating, and the crowd begins to turn on me again as the minutes count down, leaving us with only 60 seconds left in this match. You were right. The human soul weapon can't hold up against that sword. Come on. Hold that berserker off another minute. I have 1,000 ether on the line here. He may not have been as strong in the end, but he survived a fight for 20 minutes straight. This will go down in history. You're right, this human showed us the limits of what can be done for the lower races. He may not be able to take down an elite berserker, but he sure put up a fight. As these comments of doubt begin to roll in, I feel the aura around the monster I'm fighting become darker and darker, even beginning to give off a sour smell. It almost feels cold, to the point where I question whether or not it's using a power like Zacian's or Ava's, with similarities to noble vibrations. I shake it off as my mind playing tricks in such a compromised state, but as a few more exchanges pass and the monster's speed begins to increase, and it almost breaks my spiked ball in half with one of its hits, I consider if this is actually real. I think to myself while watching the timer in my head drop below 20 seconds left in the match. Maybe it's activating another form. Berserkers in dungeon boss rooms had a skill called Final Breath that gave a massive boost to the caster's stats but put them in a near-death state afterward. Or it could be some kind of unique buff related to that too. The announcer screams through our hologram, starting to count down the time remaining in the match, but the world outside is a blur. All I can feel is an extremely dark and powerful force building up in front of me, and after a few more exchanges, I feel it explode with power and vibrations I'm certain could clash with a noble demon's natural suppression. At the same time, I feel my intuitive counterattack get cracked in half, and even the chains of my soul weapon shatter from the impact. The berserker's white-hot blade sliced through it with ease, and in my mind on the spectate feed, I watch the gray greater form of this berserker erupt with a jet-black aura and swing forward as the countdown above nears the end. The aura strength from that enemy just increased tenfold, and its gut-wrenching screech echoes through every single biome in the dome, and through the ears of the tens of millions of lords watching. I smirk, take a deep breath, and let go of my ball and chain, letting it be completely destroyed, and place both of my hands in front of me. The dark black berserker's form is easily 5 times the size of mine, and its glowing white blade comes down on me, looking as though it's about to slice the small red human's greater form in two just like the fiery soul weapon moments ago. I listen to the buzzing in my ears hit its peak, and let go of my deep breath, opening my eyes and disintegrating the first seal that holds me back. My eyes glow white, and reality around me instantly becomes crystal clear again. A rush of my own unsealed energy surges through me. My headache ceases, and my senses heighten drastically. The euphoria of noble vibrations rippling out from my body feels incredible while I catch the berserker's white-hot blade between my hands with a single precise clapping motion. Chapter 829. I am still only using a single buff, my greater energy form. The second seal holds back the full activation of my noble human form, but letting my first seal dissolve releases the surface-level restrictions on both my demon core and soul energy core. After completing my training beneath the sea of corruption, even without my noble form activated, weaker vibrations still ripple off me. Dense mana and demonic energy pour out from my body with these waves of vibrations, making my greater form grow darker. I instantly pull more stats from my links of loyalty, upping the amount I'm borrowing to reach 1%, and catch the hot blade of this dark berserker giant mid-swing. Now, with my senses restored and even enhanced greatly, I can see the entire arena around me in perfect clarity. The clash of my noble vibrations against the strange cold and dark vibrations coming off this berserker's greater form explodes outward in a shockwave, suppressing every lord left under the dome. I can still see the sharp green eyes staring down at me from behind this monster's sword, even more filled with excitement and bloodlust upon the realization I've caught his blade. Though, behind its head, I see the countdown for this arena event drop below 5 seconds remaining. I lean backward and pull with both my hands, making the white sword jerk forward at an awkward angle, but with so much raw force, the jet-black greater form of this monster is yanked with it. In the same motion, I let go and spin my body to land a full-powered kick on the black giant's chest and feel cracks breaking apart its avatar. However, it's only sent flying upward. The monster survived one of my hits without instantly dying as expected. When I follow it upward again, erupting into a purple, red, and white pillar of flames and demonic energy behind me, the black monster lets out another screech and jumps down off the sky, not backing down for a second. I let out a loud laugh and charge 2 enormous fireballs filled with both mana and demonic soul energy, and throw them straight at the falling beast as it tries to kill me again. 2 enormous explosions go off one after another as it slashes through my attacks with 2 swings, creating a hot white X in the sky and forcing the demonic flames from my attack to rain down on the already destroyed biomes below us. The blasts in the sky stretch outward over 2,000 kilometers wide, and the energy waves and pressure from the collision reach every single portion of the inside of the dome, which is 40,000 kilometers in diameter. More and more notifications fill my ears as the aura from that shockwave killed hundreds of straggling lords too close to the blast. I even watch Ren, who is on top of the same icy mountain at the furthest point from this fight, open their eyes and instantly create thick barriers of mana and ether in front of their body to shield them from the pressure even over 20,000 kilometers away. Both myself and the Berserker are gaining thousands of points per second, but by now, neither of us care about these meaningless rankings. I twist my body past the incoming downward strike of its blade and shoot up past the monster, gaining the high ground as I see the timer right above my head show less than 2 seconds remaining on the clock. I clasp my hands together and pull even more stats, climbing close to 2% taken from my links of loyalty. While neither my noble nor astral forms are activated, and the 2 seals remaining on my body still hold back my ether control and noble vibrations' full potential, the amount of force I'm building up right now is about 3 times more than was necessary to kill Andrus Vermilion, a noble demon. I have a lot of questions surfacing in my mind about how another race could get this strong, as I thought it was only demons that held this kind of aura and raw strength. I don't sense any blood-transfused noble vibrations in its body, like the demonic Cyclops under Ellipsia. This black aura is the real deal, a natural phenomenon, though I push them all to the back of my mind as I create a single enormous flaming ball of fire, ether, and demonic soul energy, and point it down at the Berserker's back as it twists its body my way. It looks like a demonic sun has formed in the sky, and as the timer for the match hits 1 second remaining, I thrust my hands downward to finish what I've started. The Berserker's screech is all I hear as it attempts to slice through the dark purple ball, but it is too massive and dense. My attack engulfs the giant entirely, and the crackling of its avatar melting and being destroyed is all that can be heard before the fireball below me explodes. Kill confirmed. Points awarded, 28,261. Total points, 49,815. My entire vision below turns to a raging fire the moment a kill notification rings in my ear, but at the same exact time, I feel teleportation magic engulfing my body. My senses all go white-hot for a moment, and I feel dense black cuffs attached to my arms and legs, along with avatar debuffs ringing in my ears. I begin to comprehend the situation further and deactivate my greater form, along with letting go of the borrowed stats I've taken. Then, I even activate Seraphel's temporary noble vibration suppression technique. I land in a large white room, with a single glass-like panel on the back of it, and see the remains of an exploding fireball so massive, it almost fills a quarter of the whole arena. Then, I look to my left and right to watch about 24 other lords of varying races in the room with me, but they're all wide-eyed and taking steps back as I approach the glass wall looking down on the dome. Ren stands right next to me with cuffs on their arms and legs too, commenting, "Good fight. It looks like we're moving on to the main event." In a nonchalant tone, I smirk, "Yes, it looks like we are." I comment back in an equally calm voice, making the already terrified lords in the room shiver more. The spectate feed in my head shows exactly what I see before me, paired with slow-motion visuals over and over of me throwing the demonic fireball down on this berserker giant. The holographic replays don't do it justice, as they cannot feel or see the hot vibrations in my attacks clashing with the berserker's cold energy. Even the demonic soul energy I've imbued into the attack just appears to be purple fire, though I'm certain there are better energy trackers built into this arena, and a few strong lords with keen eyes watching this event know what I've really done. Even without these technical oddities, the fact that a fireball big enough to cover multiple biomes was used as a finishing move by a human is more than enough to make every lord watching in the stands get up from their seats. The human was still holding back. Did you see that? He really beat one of the elites. It's actually possible. Maybe we just haven't been training hard enough. What does that human know that we don't? Easy profit. Best gamble I've made all year. I'm putting more ether down on him for the main event. He's not human. There's no way. It must be a trick. Yeah. What was in those flames that made them so strong? As the crowds talk amongst each other, the announcer yells out with a wide smile as well. And that's the end of round 1. The human really pulled it off. Quite the explosive finish. We have 27 entries moving on to the main event. See them here. All of the lords present in this room show up with their faces and point totals. Second place below me has just over 6,000, while the majority of the rest are all between 1,000 to 3,000. I'm certainly the outlier of this match by far, in many more ways than one. At the same time, the glass wall in front of us pulses and turns completely green. So does the live spectate feed. The announcer points to, making the fading ball of fire an image of the past as he speaks again in his generic tone. We will be doing a total reset of the arena commands, so stay seated and prepare for the show to go on. Round 2 will be starting in a few minutes. I nod, and then take a seat, sitting up against the green glass panel and looking back toward the other lords in the room. Ren mimics me and does the same as I whisper under my breath. Very good. I think that went well. Now we wait. At the same time, these final moments of the arena event are being spread even further than just the inner city of the Citadel. Many admins start forming private chats, trying to figure out who submitted this lord. The handful of servants that witnessed this fire-wielding human get captured out in the wilderness all watch the replays with wide eyes, now grateful the avatar command suppression worked before they were taken out in a single hit like this berserker. News of the event even makes it further, outside of the Grand Citadel, to all of the Vermilion family demons that have access to the large-scale events and news from other citadels. One demon in particular, Cisco Vermilion, looking over the Mensa Citadel now with both arms crossed, still in a bad mood from his inconclusive search for the berserker giant in the Scarlet Clan, watches that video recording of the match with extreme detail. Not only does he watch the fiery human's movements, but also the black greater form of the berserker giant fighting. A human with exceptional mana control fighting first-class beasts. I believe it, but a human actually gaining enough strength to defeat one of those monsters from the Obsidian Clan. Something is not right. Could a human have awakened a path of their own? The white-horned demon's gaze tightens, watching the demonic energy flowing inside this fireball, and even surges in power every time borrowed stats are infused in the red greater form, and his intrigue grows. Whatever the case may be, Muriel will deal with it in the main event. He shrugs, then turns the recordings off to look out over the green rolling clouds toward Ellipsia. In the same instance, far away from all active citadels, the large demonic cloud filled with beasts from the fortress finally begins to descend, dipping down into the green clouds, headed on a direct course toward the Sea of Corruption. Chapter 830. I look around the massive white holding room, and everyone but myself and Ren are first-class lords. I see some recognizable races, like a snow-white serpent coiled up at the back of the room, staring me down with icy blue eyes. A few emerald green-colored lizard men stare at us from the other side of the room, and I see 2 brown rock golems as well. There are a few large cat creatures, humanoid ogre variations, and a strong-looking dark-skinned high orc. However, all of their true powers are suppressed, and no greater forms are active. The 2 other strongest beasts, the mammoth and berserker giant, were disqualified by me, and that black rock golem was certainly stronger than the specimens here. I guess that's just how it goes. The arena isn't fair. I whisper under my breath, sensing the glass wall behind me start to change colors to show a fully restored arena full of hundreds of biomes. The announcer's voice starts announcing new lords entering the white ring around the simulated wilderness, and the crowds in the stands get excited again, hoping to see another brutal fight like the one they just saw. I don't pay much attention to the events. I'm more focused on the second spectate feed that has been live in my mind from Ember back on Ellipsia this whole time. Mental images shared from the admin of my fight are transmitted his way, along with the detailed scans of the Grand Citadel here on the surface, and the strange black towers I witnessed on the underside. As the round 2 clock starts to count down, I go over the final details of my plan, and he agrees to convey the message to the warlords and to my generals once they wake. They're all quite close to finishing their acclamation. We'll be ready just in time. Ember replies, smiling and leaving the telepathy call, and turning to his side on the top floor of the High Orc Tower. The dragon in the form of a long red-haired human looks up at a High Orc, Blue Ogre, and Berserker Giant holding relic-class soul weapons, all ready for the battle of their lives. Asic speaks in a slow and confident tone. All of the servants are acclimating to their new freedom avatars. They should be able to move naturally in a few hours. Torvak speaks next with his arms crossed. Indeed, we're ready too. He looks over to Zacian, whose body seems relaxed, but deep within his eyes, a red glow still hasn't faded away. The monster stares down at Ember and gives a single nod. Fighting nobles will not be a problem. You will not see the same disgrace of a fight you witnessed the day we fought the former lord of the Citadel. The warlords will be respected again after this. Ember looks amused, looking off in the direction of the central tower and seeing the generals all surpassing 95% completion on their tower climb. They're almost ready too. As Ember and the warlords talk amongst each other, the generals continue to climb floors in the tower, and the demonic forces from the fortress sink further and further down into the tens of thousands of kilometers of green clouds. I watch the preliminary rounds of the arena event move on uninterrupted. Round 2 is filled with 121 K-Lords, roughly the same as the round I was in. Seeing it from an outside perspective now, the manipulation of matchups between strong fighters from the admins is as clear as day, but the lords watching in the stands either don't care or don't see the whole arena in a game-like sense as I do. Many of the early matchups are quite boring, as it's mostly second-class lords fighting each other in long, drawn-out battles, or stronger first-class lords dominating in their domains until they're finally tempted to move closer to other strong opponents. I see a lot of familiar races, and as the round passes the halfway mark, I find that there are a lot more strong first-class competitors in this round compared to last. I spot 3 mammoths, controlling entire biomes similar to the strength of the one I fought, all scattered across the map. A few extremely strong serpent races hold their ground against multiple first-class lords at once. One of the pristine white serpents even battles a mammoth for a few minutes. However, the main attraction in this match is a creature with the body of a lion, and the head, front legs, and wings of a majestic eagle. Its greater wind form is large and strong enough to create shockwaves covering multiple biomes as it is slowly manipulated into battling against 2 mammoths at once in the last 10 minutes of the match. The battle is long and exciting, just as intended for a climax of this event like the admins wanted, ending in the griffin managing to kill one of the mammoths and brutally injuring the other. If the match went on for another few minutes it would have won, but both moved on. Over 15 biomes were destroyed in their brawl, and the newcomers filling the stands get pretty excited, but there is a general lull in the crowd that are still high on the intensity of my fight with the Berserker. I can't help but to smirk while watching 36 of the entries this round all get teleported into this waiting room with us in avatar-suppressing cuffs. The intelligent ones scan the room to get a feel for who to look out for, but the confused faces once they sense people fear the 2 humans sitting up against the viewing glass is quite funny. Even so, they act far more confident as they didn't get to witness my round. 2 more white serpents group together next to each other in the back, and a single mammoth sits alone at the other side of the room. No one goes near either of these 2, and the massive 30-meter-long griffin stands in between the 2 elite races without a care in the world. Its sharp yellow eyes stare forward at me, half analyzing, half showing its dominance over the room by not backing down from the greatest agreed-upon threat. I don't provoke it, but I do stare back, curious to know if it used its full power or not in that fight. The announcer's words drown out my curiosity, as over the next 2 hours, round 3 and 4 go by just as fast. The third round is quite the letdown comparatively. There are far more strong first-class lords than the second, but there aren't outliers like this griffin or any mammoths to be found. The dominating force of that match is another large white serpent. The fourth round is quite interesting as well, as there is another berserker giant present that holds the same exact style of white glowing sword as the one I fought. Kills pretty much everything in the arena. Mammoths, serpents, golems, every single strong lord. So far, it's the only one that has managed to beat my point total, coming in at 72,880 points. Once it's transported to the White Room here with the 14 other entries that made it through this round. My gaze tightens on it once it teleports in, as I did see a light gray aura surround it during the match, but it never turned black like the one I fought myself. It is far more heavily suppressed than any of the other creatures in this room, with dozens of shackles all over it, and it's escorted by 2 demonic servants to stand right next to the griffin. As they disappear, my growing intrigue is interrupted by a telepathic voice in my ear, coming from Ava down below in the cells beneath the citadel. I've been chosen to participate in round 5. At the same time, the horde of demonic creatures finally reach the ground below the clouds. They begin to spread out evenly on the shoreline of the Sea of Corruption, watching the dense blue radiation filled with high noble vibrations stream out from the Black Sea. Seraphel is still in his suppressed state, holding back the violent waves of energy within his body to not be torn to shreds thousands of kilometers below the corruption. Yet, small amounts of radiation leaking out is still visible, and if the monsters that line the sea were anything lower than the strength of a noble demon at the distance they are right now, they would be crushed to death by the pressure in the atmosphere alone. As they spread out, the individual figures of the creatures in this cloud of dark black and purple mist become more clear. Demonic orcs, ogres, and cyclopes all stand straight with burning hot purple soul weapons in their grasps. There are at least 1,000 each, all standing at the ready, waiting for their leader to give the next command. Demonic berserker giants, reminiscent of the king defeated by Raven on Kelfer, appear next, hundreds of them, all spewing out the dense vibrations of a noble demon's blood, newly transfused, and ready for war, after waiting dormant in the fortress for thousands of years. Then finally, in the center of the demonic clouds, the largest monsters of all flap their wings and show off their dark purple eyes, with extremely potent noble vibrations of their own radiating out from their mutated demonic forms. Dozens of fallen mind-controlled wyverns touch down in a line, looking down into the Sea of Corruption where their old leader lies. He is fighting for his life, but they are there on a mission to end it once and for all. Chapter 831. Ember's body glows with a dense white light, manipulating the ether commands around him and the ceiling above while giving one last nod to the warlords. He points to Zacian. "You come with me. We have one last thing to do before leaving." He smiles, sensing a vibrating transmission table at the top of the central tower. The automated cloaking commands on the Berserker's avatar activate once exposed to the outside air, and he too is enveloped in a cloud of white mist. The High Orc and Blue Ogre give confident nods of approval as the two fly off into the sky, upward toward the tower. In less than a minute, the two arrive at the top floors, and Ember opens the side door to let them walk into the narrow corridors. However, he motions for Zacian to stop moving and sends a telepathy message for him not to say a word until he's finished. The Berserker giant does as instructed, standing tall at the back of the hall covered in dense white commands as the red-haired human walks through a few doorways, triggering commands and finally making it to the room where the rising Emperor's two body doubles wait. One of them steps out from the room to stand beside Ember, but transforms into the demonic appearance of Draco Vermilion, and with the touch of a finger, Ember injects enough demonic energy, pure ether, and dense green divine threads into the mana construct to make it seem believable. The only thing missing is noble vibrations, but Ember cannot provide such a facade as he doesn't have any that could mimic this demon himself. He smiles, letting the fake Draco Vermilion walk past him and open up the door to the main room where the transmission device connected to the long meeting table in front of the city's overview glass has been ringing for many minutes now. "This will do," Ember whispers while walking back down the hall toward Zacian, while the double in the room picks up the incoming call. Part of my consciousness is busy on this mission in Ellipsia. As I'm not doing much more than sitting in a room in cuffs in the Grand Citadel, a large portion of my active mind is here when I pick up the call. My senses in a body double are nowhere near as sharp as my true body. So much so that I can hardly even sense further than a few hundred kilometers outward if I was using the full extent of my double's power. They have no borrowed stats, no ether control, and no noble vibrations. Yet, as the familiar dark avatar of a long-horned demon shows up as a holographic image before me, I reflexively take a step back. The familiar voice of Muriel Vermilion rings out. "The tournament event will be starting soon. I take it you will be heading over now as promised? You'll make it just in time if you leave now. I'm looking forward to giving you an introduction in the main event to those watching in the Grand Citadel." I feel a strange pressure emanate through the room, and logically know what it is, but physically I cannot sense it one bit. This double does not have noble vibration-enhanced senses. It just feels like the hold on my access to the system in this clone is weakening, like I'm getting extremely fatigued for no reason. Yet, the large amounts of ether in my body thanks to Ember is keeping me standing and able to reply in a weak tone, showing a demonic grin. "Oh, but of course. I was not planning on missing a thing." I can't see the demon's face, as it is shrouded in darkness, but it leans forward, making the pressure in the room vibrate with even greater intensity. "Excellent. Your fast travel orb will be dash." The hologram stops speaking mid-sentence as it realizes something, and the pressure in the room instantly increases more. It pushes me to the verge of passing out. I even see the health bar in my body double system start to tick downward even though I'm talking to an entity over 10 million kilometers away through a transmission device. "You dare deceive me?" To answer an incoming call with a mere body double. The smile on my face grows, and I choke out a few more words. I couldn't answer in person. I wouldn't want to miss the show. Round 5 is just starting after all. I'll be sure to make myself known in the main event just as promised. I can't finish what I'm about to say, as the pressure in the room grows so great that my body double is knocked out unconscious on the floor, then killed by the aura alone. Dense waves of demonic energy, mana, ether, and divine threads disperse through the room as an angered grunt is heard while the connection between citadels is severed. Ember lets out a laugh once the call finally ends, then sends a mental message straight through the floor beneath his feet. He stands right above Abby's cultivation room, as she's less than 20 floors away from completing the assimilation. Out of everyone, her mental state is the least fragile, as the pressure in each room now doesn't hurt her at all. The green glowing healer feels as though she's sitting in a warm bath, so a small disruption in her concentration is meaningless. Though, after hearing Ember's message, her eyes widen, and she begins speeding up her cultivation to finish these last floors as fast as possible, and not use up the full 5 hours remaining as expected. "Understood. We will be ready," is what Ember hears back through their mental link. Then he turns to Zacian and lifts a glowing hand in the air to activate a final few ether commands. A white orb forms around both of them, and the wall they entered the central tower in opens up again to let them fly out together. "Very good. My work here is done. Off to the Grand Citadel we go." Beneath the citadel, deep within a dark tower cut off from the green zone of the upper realm, a long-horned demon yells to himself against the black walls of his room. Fledglings these days need to know their place. What are they teaching them back in the realm for that brat to talk to a family head this way? I'll give him 10 years, no 100 years of torture for his insolence. A noble needs to know his place in the presence of a royal. The demon is forced to calm himself down once the tendrils of coiling corruption leaking out of his body start to crack the walls he stands in, as releasing even a drop of that power to the outside realm right now would completely ruin the arena event and take days for the green zone to recover. This prompts the family head to begin sending out commands to his subordinates and gather all of the footage from the Grand Citadel over the last few days, along with the recent tournament results so far. At the same time, Muriel opens up another direct link to a citadel he has control over, bringing his strongest Whitehorn subordinates face up in perfect clarity in front of him. Sisko bows, showing respect. "What may I do for you, my lord?" He doesn't raise his head for a few more seconds, but Muriel responds with anger still in his tone. "Go personally secure Ellipsia and have your first-class guards seize control of all the old warlord's territory. The noble thought to be guarding it has left earlier than expected, and he will not be returning anytime soon. I need someone reliable to watch over it for a few years while I conduct Draco's training." While demons talk, and a new fast travel orb begins to make its way toward the Grand Citadel, I stand up from my seated position and watch the round 5 match begin from a bird's-eye view. There are bright bursts of green light shining where Ava enters the arena and begins brawling second-class lords with her fists alone. She is not even using any borrowed stats, her sole weapon, or any refined ether from her inner pool. This is all the raw strength of her third ranked-up buff upgrade, her higher-than-average level, and the unrestricted strength that her Freedom Avatar grants. I'm not concerned for her well-being at all, but I am curious to see how she fares in this arena event. Though, my attention is split between her and the sensation of 2 other moving entities on the other side of the dome. Their geotrackers are weak, but I still have a very slight connection to the 2 wolfmen I sent down to the underside of the Citadel as spies to collect data. Without links of loyalty, I cannot contact them directly, but there is still a way to get them to this room safely. My eyes light up, and I send a mental message to Ava, giving her directions to meet up with the 2 third-class lords before it's too late. Chapter 832. "Really? They're all the way over there," Ava replies while punching through the avatar of a large, overgrown boar-like creature that has been charging around in an open plains area with tall grass. "Yeah, 48 biomes away." I send a mental projection of the map I see on this glass screen, and begin to see Ava instantly follow my direction. A bright streak of green light glows visible in the woods as she borrows a small amount of stats in order to close the gap in a few minutes. She doesn't kill anything else on the way over. She only has the 7 points floating above her 3 crowns from the past few kills upon entering. The Goblin Queen touches down in the middle of a dry desert terrain in front of the 2 wolf men, forming a crater, as they both hide behind a massive rock structure. When the dust clears and she shows her face, they look up in fear, but slowly realize who is in front of them. "It's Boss. Boss Lady is back," comes out from the 2 wolfmen's mouths, and Ava lets out a sigh and nods. "Indeed, I'm back. Come on, we have a mission to complete." She turns and points toward the edge of the biome, and they obediently follow. Ava sends me a mental message back. "Well, one thing is for sure, they haven't lost all their memories like you thought they would. I'll make sure to get them 1,000 points each by the end of the round." Good. I smile and sit back down, far more confident things will work out now that the delicate data is in good hands. As the 5th round goes on, it is a lot like the last few. Many challenges spring up. I watch orcs, ogres, serpents, and massive golems all fighting in the top 10. An extremely powerful fiery lizard creature and a mammoth also put on quite the show, destroying over 6 biomes in the process. But the ancient, furry, tusked beast comes out on top. The only other outlier that has been shown is an insect with a very large green and white greater form. It looks similar to a praying mantis and uses sharp blades of wind magic, but it stays away from large fights despite being in the top 10 from pure quantity of kills. These figures are what the announcer is fixated on. Ava keeps an even lower profile under the radar, hunting beasts that have high single-digit points. She injures them, shattering limbs or paralyzing them with a single punch, and lets the 2 wolf men make the final kills. The announcer may not be paying her much mind, but as the timer for the round ticks below 10 minutes remaining, 3 random third-class lords have somehow stacked enough points to qualify. The admins rigging the event catch on. They start pushing the action all in one direction to try and force an exciting event in the final minutes. Massive explosions showing the mantis and the mammoth creature start to light up in my vision, and the shockwaves even reach where Ava is protecting the wolfmen right now. She turns to them and instructs them to press the option in their avatars to move on to the next round without her, and she'll see them soon. It takes a full 10 seconds just as the option shows, but 2 flashes of white light carry the wolfmen away, into a holding cell with all of the other lords that have moved on from this round and are being cuffed up, waiting for the round to be over to join the rest of us. Ava, on the other hand, stands her ground. Even as the jungle biomes all around her are torn to shreds, she floats in the air unbothered, watching the clash of auras 2 biomes away with a grin on her face. Rank 1 and 2 are deep into their match. 2 monsters from the star system of elites. Place your bets, lords, this is a match to remember. The announcer yells, as hundreds of stray lords get killed in the shockwaves of their blows. Dense waves of ether fill the mammoths and wind-wielding insects' attacks and defenses. In my status, where all of the general stats and health bars are visible in my mind, I watch Ava borrow more and more stats in order to withstand the wind and aura flooding through the arena. Massive gashes open up in the mammoth's greater form from the wind blades, and the praying mantis flies around the beast in arching motions, leaving trails of white and green light behind. The crowds go crazy as it pulls off a finishing move and stays floating above the destroyed biomes with both of its sharp, spiked forelegs still glowing hot from its last dual wind blade attack. Less than 5 minutes remain on the round 5 clock, but the creature doesn't let up. Its beady black eyes turn to Ava, the only lord that stayed nearby during this clash. The rest died in the explosion or ran away while they still had time. A bright stream of light bursts through the sky, straight toward Ava, and she doesn't move a muscle. She just calmly looks at the monster coming her way while slowly increasing her borrowed stats to match the strength of its aura as it gets closer and closer. Upon impact, there's an enormous green and white blast of energy that erupts into the atmosphere, obliterating even more biomes than the collisions with the mammoth. Through the debris and cloud of dense green residue, it's impossible to see exactly what happened. The announcer yells out, using logic to guess what happened, and that's it. The rank 1 mantis took out its only threat, and now it's going to kill everything left in the dome before the time runs out. That's what I call a total domination. The crowd's cheers from the destruction echo through the arena. There are over 100 million lords watching now, as the hours passing, getting closer to the main event, have built up an even bigger crowd. Though, their cheers halt the moment the residue begins to clear, and what they see beneath it is a goblin queen holding a bright white hammer, clashing against the 2 front claws of the mantis greater energy form. A lower race, quite similar to humans on the galactic totem pole, stops a first-class elite's finishing move without even activating a greater form of her own. I grin inwardly, seeing that Ava is pulling 1% of borrowed stats from all my links of loyalty. Roughly half of the power I used to fight against the Berserker giant in my round. With that being said, none of her ether or mana is sealed, so she's able to use her full power without being held back at all. I can't fully sense what is going on in the arena as I'm not there, but through a spectate feed, I do feel the warm vibrations of what Ava calls her instincts rippling out. They clash with a sharp, hot pressure that comes out from the mantis. It makes me positive they are both using the same energy that nobles do, just a unique form. Both are sent flying backward from the blast, but only one of them shows signs of fatigue. There are small cracks that form in the praying mantis greater form upon impact. Ava's hammer looks pristine, and ready to be pushed to its limits, though, when they collide again, sending shockwaves and green explosions through the ring, it's clear this opponent won't be the one to push her new relic-class soul weapon to the limits she wanted. That is because fractured shards of mana, ether, and divine energy fly off from the mantis arms after its next attack, and its movements slow. Ava is able to easily dodge its next counter, and slam her hot white hammer into its side, sending more fractures through the insect. It lets out screeches and squeals, but doesn't back down. A full 2 minutes pass, as they destroy over 25 biomes in jagged patterns all over the dome, finishing in a brutal 2-handed slam of Ava's hammer through its head, splitting the massive avatar in 2, then shattering into millions of pieces. The crowds watching quickly get on this Goblin Queen's side, just like the rogue human in the first round. None of them understand how this is possible. Even the admin group chats begin to go crazy, remembering that this goblin was with the human when they were captured. The time logs for when these entries were processed are found, and it's confirmed they were together, deepening the mystery further. The announcer watches this goblin queen lift her hammer in the air, floating above the ground, watching the final seconds count down, and decides to go with the crowd's sentiment. It is meant to be entertainment, after all. The goblin queen did it. That is what you get when you come to the arena, the unexpected. You are here to be entertained, so we bring the show. Our round 5 standout, with 61,449 points. Let's hear some noise for the fight of the round. The stadium shakes as the timer reaches 0, and Ava disappears in a white light with every other lord still inside at the edges of the dome. She stores away her hammer into an ether storage, and the borrowed stats she's using are immediately deactivated. A few seconds later, white bursts start showing up in the holding cell before me, as just under 24 entries are all teleported into the room. My eyes lock on Ava as she arrives, and at the same time, the griffin at the back of the room looks down at her with a sharp glare. She doesn't bother to give anyone else in the room attention, and walks my way. Good fight. A shame you didn't get to go all out, I remark, and she halts beside me, looking up at the holographic glass display of the dome. Yeah, it was a good warm-up though. That mantis was a lot tougher than anything I expected to find here. A lot stronger, actually. At the same time, the 2 wolfmen follow behind her. No one really pays them any mind. Most of the gazes are on the goblin queen, but my eyes gleam with curiosity. I walk over and stand right in between them. Long time no see, I whisper while making sure to hold contact with both their avatars, sending ether commands in to receive the data from the recording devices I planted days ago. Chapter 833. In a matter of seconds, I edit the 2 third-class lords' avatars, pulling all of the stray tracking and surveillance commands out to analyze for myself. As the announcer starts hyping up the crowds for round 6, a large portion of my consciousness begins sifting through the recordings from these 2 wolfmen. It begins on the day I left them in that first safe zone, as they walk through an ether command array and are greeted by a single demonic servant inside the Crown Cycle building. Scans of their avatars are made, and they're placed in a local holding cell within the safe zone. Later, the 2 board a slow-moving elevator that shields them from the outside environment, making their vision turn only bright white as they're pulled deep down underground. I track these memories with the probing I did earlier in the cell beneath the Citadel, and the distance all adds up. The 2 drop over 100,000 kilometers beneath the Grand Citadel's surface before changing route and moving through underground pathways in a mirrored version of the Grand Citadel's tunnels below the arena. There are even green glowing demonic servants at every turn, verifying the shipment and sending them on course to where they need to go in their personal ether orb. Eventually, they come to a halt once near the center of the Citadel, yet they sit in a long line with thousands of other lords, all with their crowns completely filled and glowing white-hot. The line slowly moves forward, and demonic servants whiz by on either side to rescan each orb while new ones line up behind them. Eventually, they make it to the end and are sent downward even further, to what I assume to be the largest dark central tower in this city. It is filled with tens of thousands of rooms, with complex locks and ether commands on every pathway connected to this main line. Hundreds of scans, both automated and manual by servants, are conducted on the way down before their orb is finally deactivated and the 2 wolfmen can walk into a wide-open room. They see thousands of other lords, all lining the outer ring of this room that stretches at least 300 kilometers across. Every single one of the lords in this room, 5th to 1st class, all have full white crowns above their heads, but every single one of them is equally confused about what they need to do here. A few more lords enter from random walls and holes in the ceiling and floor, until the room lights up white instead of the black coloring it's been showing. From the center of the room, a shady figure with long horns emerges and lifts 2 long arms covered in what looks like oscillating black liquid. It moves far too fast for anyone in the room to even react. Not even the first-class lords have enough perception to turn their heads in time, or even sense that something dangerous has entered the room. The wolfmen both fall unconscious to the floor at the same time as everyone else in the room, but the recording feeds still show glimmering white ether traveling through the tendrils of black liquid from every single lord's crowns into the shadowy figure in the center of the room. In a matter of seconds, the liquid all returns to its body, and the shady figure descends through the floor to leave. Lords begin waking up in a daze, like they've just fallen into a quick nap, and I see the footage quality now become noticeably worse. The Wolfman's avatars were attacked and siphoned of all their refined ether. Even the hidden commands I hid within them were drained of a large amount of their ambient power. Every single crown floating above these lords' heads is now gray and empty. Demonic servants come into the room next, activating new fast travel commands and begin sending the lords here back. Those that are intelligent start to argue, many of them asking how they got here or what happened to their hard-earned crowns. A large majority don't say a single word and still stare off into empty space like they've seen a ghost. The two wolf men that stare at each other are acting the same. Hey Zayden, where are we? We were getting avatar upgrades, right? I don't know, Togi. Maybe Boss Lady sent us here. They're swept away back through the many tunnels beneath the citadel and back toward the surface. Other flashes of ether orbs are visible going in different directions. These wolfmen are brought through the network of tunnels again and brought down into another upside-down tower, this one filled with demonic servants and dense white pools of ether commands. System text notifies the two lords of their avatar upgrade procedure, and the two close their eyes and let the process take place. This time around, it doesn't touch any of the leftover ether commands I did, only that longhorned figure's strange energy did so. Zayden and Togi are brought back up to the surface right after and are soon tracked down by the admin I had retrieved them. All the footage following leads to where we stand now. Interesting. So I was right. These Grand Citadel avatars are used to refined stagnant ether, and the Vermilion family head collects it all for himself. I comment through a private link with Ava, then turn to both of the wolfmen again, patting them on the backs with my cuffed hands one by one as their eyes get glued to the glass screen showing the arena dome before them. Something still feels different about them. There is a lingering piece of energy remaining in them from their contact with Muriel. It reminds me of the admin I turned over to a link of loyalty. Despite being fully loyal, their eyes and mine turn dull when I ask certain things about the crowns. I decide not to pry any further, as I got all the answers I needed. I send these additional scans directly to Ember, as he may find them useful. Then, turn around and enjoy round 6. The monsters in this round are even stronger than the last. A pair of Berserker giants brawl for the final few minutes, but they do not have enough time to finish the match. Both move on and get teleported into this holding cell. In round 7, there are many more mammoths, serpents, golems, and even another one of the mantis creatures that Ava fought before. Almost the entire arena is obliterated this round, it gets so intense. Only an abnormally strong mammoth and the mantis make it out. Round 8 is even more hectic. I hardly spot any second-class lords at all, only first class and over 24 from this star system of elites. This is brutal from the start. A mantis and a berserker giant dominate the majority of this match, but never fight each other. They fight off multiple elites on either side of the ring. The arena seating grows more and more packed, nearing 150 million watching, and even surpassing 100% capacity on seating. There are demonic servants installing more rows higher in the sky to curve up and around the top of the dome to view it from above to accommodate more lords here for the fun. Round 9 starts and even more elites are present in this round, maybe close to 100. The announcer's voice echoes out as it begins. Find your seats, everyone. This will be our second to last round before the main event begins. I repeat, our second to last round. There are only 2 hours before the real show begins. It has already been an exciting preliminary trial, but this month's event is far more stacked than usual. Make sure to place your bets before the time runs out. At the same time, I scan the listed entries and look throughout the dome's visuals that I can see, but it just seems to be the same as all the other rounds before. No other griffins, huh? Are they really that rare? I think to myself. The eyes of this half-lion, half-eagle still stare into mine and Ava's back no matter how crowded this holding room gets. It makes me more and more curious as to why and where such an elegant creature like it came from. Meanwhile, back on Ellipsia, as these last few hours watching the rounds of the fighting event pass, the generals all begin to finish their assimilation in the central tower. Abby arrives on the 1000th floor first, completing the final array built to trigger ether commands and a teleportation device to bring her up a final floor into the private control room where surveillance and private trades for demons are made. Once she touches down on the smooth black and green floor, the atmosphere she's present in now is dozens of times less dense than what she's used to. A bright green true core calmly spins in her chest, and the immortal healer now stands unaided by anything other than her own stats in the upper realm as the second human in history to bring their untainted body to the green zone. Next, Maria completes her climb as well. Commands and notifications to deactivate all harmful techniques before transitioning to the lower quality atmosphere outside prompt her to deactivate her angelic form and put away her soul weapon into storage before teleporting up to the final floor. She appears in a flash of white light in the same room as Abby. Maria's blue eyes, blonde hair, and light skin stand out like a bright light against the dark walls and floors of this control room. Though she does not have a bright green core in her chest like Abby. There is only darkness, the absence of light or energy where her core should be. The rest of her body, however, does have millions of tendrils of green divine energy coming out from where a core should be though, tethering her to reality and making her the third human to ever step foot in the green zone of the upper realm with their true flesh intact. The two generals pull up live monitoring feed of the Citadel, one that was very commonly shared with them from the Rising Emperor, but now is at their fingertips and to be seen with their own eyes. Ari is on floor 998 and Raven just made it to 995. Every general's assimilation process is nearly complete, with less than 2 hours to go until they're meant to make their moves. Yet, one of the Citadel's surveillance systems begins to blink with flashing white lights and automated alarms and protocols being activated. A holographic view of what the problem is shows up on a massive screen covering a 50-meter-high wall. It just shows a bright blue explosion of energy coming toward the Citadel from a direction not detailed on any of the maps. The thin white orb of ether commands around the Citadel auto-activates a defensive array that blocks a large amount of the blunt force of the shockwave. However, even from a distance over 10 million kilometers away, a violent burst of high noble vibrations still makes the whole Citadel shudder. The light tints the entire Citadel's vision blue for a few seconds, and Abby's eyes widen the most as she recognizes what these vibrations are, and who they're coming from. Chapter 834. The wave of energy that soaks the Citadel in a blue tint of light feels warm, yet powerful. Many of the lords below second class feel a similar grasp on the system loosening that they did when the Rising Emperor used his noble form to suppress them, acting as Draco Vermilion. That is Seraphel, Abby whispers under her breath, staring at the reading on the Citadel's interface, but vividly remembering a large amount of memories she was granted from her staff while climbing this assimilation tower. And he's using that form, she says to herself, picturing the massive blue wyvern in memories fighting against noble demons tens of thousands of years ago. It takes almost a full minute for the blue wave to pass. Even after, shimmering blue particles of water magic stay stagnant in the air, and some have even managed to break through the airtight seals of the assimilation tower. As Ari and Raven climb the final few floors, draining all of the ether, mana, and demonic energy, they activate a telepathy link with the two generals outside. Are we under attack? What was that? Raven remarks. It was not nearby, Abby replies. You have nothing to worry about yet. In the next half hour, 2 more flashes of light bring the archer and the sword wielder into this control room, bringing the generals all back together in their human forms. At the same time, doors to this control room from a private corridor open up, and 2 towering figures walk in. Asik and Torvak meet the generals face to face and open their eyes in awe at the strange sight. The blue ogre murmurs to himself, Ember was right, each one of them has a path awakened just like Zashin. But they're a lesser race. The High Orc can't keep his gaze that has seen over 103,000 years of life from scanning each one of these humans up and down with an awestruck impression. I wouldn't believe it if I wasn't seeing it with my own eyes. He whispers too. However, Maria's stern voice breaks them out of their daze. Good to see you two in person as well. The holograms from the lower realm didn't do you justice. Her eyes scan back and forth, then back down to the visuals of the Citadel's defense systems being torn apart by the wave of blue light 30 minutes ago. I take it that's where the wyvern we spoke to went? Abby nods along with the 2 first-class warlords, but Torvak is the first to reply. Yes, I take it you've been given tasks from the Rising Emperor. She nods, but Abby steps forward and replies, "Indeed. I'm going off to give support to Seraphil." Ari and Raven step up next, with Raven speaking, "We're going to follow as well." Ember's scan of the fortress shows more enemy forces than one should have to handle alone. The blue ogre nods and Asik replies, looking to Maria, "Then you're off to scout out Mensa while we stay here and protect from any rogue attacks on Ellipsia?" She shakes her head abruptly.
No.
"That's what they want. For us to leave this last citadel free for the taking. I'm staying here." Maria looks up, in the direction of the Mensa citadel with a rainbow of source resin shimmering behind her frost-blue eyes. As Abby, Raven, and Ari activate natural and borrowed stealth skills to leave the citadel without being seen, off in the direction of the Sea of Corruption where that blue blast came from, Maria takes full control of the Ellipsia citadel. Her face is stone-cold solid, but behind it, many emotions spin around waiting to be released. The first is a mix of satisfaction and excitement to be here in the upper realm, where the rising emperor has been awaiting them for what has been months in the lower realms timeline. The 2.5 million low-quality ether surging through her body, dense green divine threads, and hundreds of worlds' worth of mana are empowering. She feels astronomically stronger than she was just days ago. However, the second feeling is a growing fear and anxious, squeezing feeling on her mind and body. It's hard to tell if it is nerves before a battle against an unknown opponent, or the fact that she herself doesn't fully understand the dark power growing in her chest. The feeling went away when she was pulling in large amounts of divine energy and ether inside the tower, but now in her suppressed state, it's like pressure is building up inside her and she needs to either let loose or pull in more energy to keep it at bay. Maria carefully monitors the security systems, suppressing this feeling as much as possible, while Torvak and Asik both leave the control room and begin greeting all of the freed demonic servants that have begun to wake up in their new custom freedom avatars that match their actual races. At the same time, I watch round 9 go by in the Grand Citadel. Memories from the Wolfmen, visuals from my body double of Ellipsia, and the imagery of Zashin and Ember headed my way all play in the back of my mind as the first-class lords and elites in the dome below all fight for their spots in the main event. I feel the suppression technique I've been using for a few hours start to grow warm from holding back the excess noble vibrations, but it is nothing I can't handle for another hour or so. The last 2 seals on my body still hold back the majority of my true power. While that release during my round to finish off the Berserker Giant did slightly weaken the second seal, they are both very secure. I don't plan on unsealing them until an enemy at the strength of least a noble demon challenges me. Every single elite in this room fighting me at once doesn't feel as though it'd be a challenge for me even in my current sealed state. This thought makes me grin as I watch the last few minutes of round 9. A team of 4 mammoths all move on, with 1 mantis and another golem managing to survive the blasts. The round 10 lineups look even more intense. There are only 65k entries, while most of the other rounds had 110k to 150k each. Though, I don't spot a single second-class lord, and the moment the timer starts, over 1,000 violent bursts of aura are visible from a bird's-eye view without having to zoom in on any area in the dome at all. It is a bloodbath of elites. There are over 1 million demonic servants floating around the top of the arena seating now, finishing up the extended row, and nearly 200 million lords here to watch. The announcer that swaps between live feeds of the biggest fights in round 10 is getting noticeably excited as well, hyping up the crowd more and more. Despite there being a massive number of elites in this final round, they actually all eliminate each other much faster than the others. Only 6 out of the 65k entries managed to press the avatar command to move on, while everyone else has been hunted off or caught up in the blasts of the devastating battles. Every single one of the biomes in the dome are leveled, and in the final 5 minutes of that match there are only 2 lords remaining. They are both Berserker Giants, and both are using the jet black greater forms of the one I witnessed in round 1. I'd love to say my fight was the highlight of the preliminaries, but compared to the loaded stands now, and the intensity of the massive white sword clashing against an equal-sized dual-bladed axe sending cracks through the artificial ground over and over as the fight goes on, it's hard to gauge the exact power they're releasing, but given the fact that each shockwave obliterates every biome in the dome after each collision, my guess is double or triple the strength of the Berserker Giant I faced. The match ends with the axe wielder overpowering the berserker with a sword, and slowly but surely landing heavier, more damaging attacks. Both of them end the match with equally insane expressions on their faces and wide grins despite only one moving on, letting out a screech and holding his axe in the air. And that's it for the final round of the preliminaries, everyone. That makes a grand total of 214 entries for the main event. We shall reconstruct the dome and begin shortly. Please do enjoy some of the highlights of this morning's matchups for a few minutes and place your final bets. The dome fades to green, and 7 flashes of light enter this holding room. Then all of the 214 lords in here have their faces and entry numbers flash by on the big screen, with highlights of their best battles playing behind it. The announcer does some commentary, but I send a telepathy message to the admin in my mind, curious about something. Those berserker giants, and their black greater forms. I heard the announcer say they were from the Obsidian clan earlier. What is that exactly? A reply comes back quickly. Berserker giants were meant to be the next in succession, to be rulers of the upper realm. Or at least those were the rumors I've heard, and it's a very logical reasoning for it. My home world never was linked to any of the clans, but it's fairly accepted knowledge here. The stronger clans were all hunted and snuffed out in the lower realm before my time here, but they let this clan survive just to give us false hope. The Obsidian Berserkers are the only ones that ever stand a chance against the beasts those demons release in the main event. I raise an eyebrow, interesting, and patiently wait for the main event to begin. Chapter 835. The green fighting dome starts to change color again, shimmering white, then revealing a whole new environment unlike the hundreds of biomes that were scattered about before. The 40,000 kilometers wide arena is split into only 4 parts. One is completely empty, with only a smooth dark green floor, and thousands of kilometers of open space from the floor all the way up to the top of the dome. Another section is filled with impossibly tall and thick trees. I can count them out, less than 200, and they all reach up high toward the top of the dome, creating a thick jungle of trees as dense as the skyscrapers in the inner city. The third section I spot is a mountain range with enormous peaks the size of entire planets in the lower realm. Nothing is to normal scale. This is clearly an event mapping that prepares for many lords to multiply by 10 or even 100 times in size when using their greater forms, so larger, more sturdy environments have been built. The fourth section I see is made up of over 1,000 floating rings. They all look dark, made of thick stone-like material, but have bright white ether commands surrounding them. They move around, some in slow, predictable motions, and others in erratic, crazy patterns. The rings range from 1 kilometer wide to 15 kilometers to some over 200 kilometers in diameter. There is fire trailing from some, electricity buzzing on others, and earth or ice magic falling from the sky on a few. The flashing colors are eye-catching, but the announcer's voice and massive hologram are what pull away my full attention from the colorful sights before my eyes. All right, lords, the main event is about to begin. These are the matchups we've been waiting all day to see. As he says this, the crowds in the stands encircling the arena, exceeding 200 million, start to cheer and jump up and down with more energy than any of the events before. I'm sure all of you are very familiar with the challengers that qualified last month to continue fighting, but I will give them the introduction they deserve. More images start to fly by on the big screen of extremely strong lords from biomes and fighting environments I've never seen before. A large amount of the crowd seems to recognize these faces, and even some of the lords in the waiting room I stand in now whisper to each other about watching these fights last month. At the same time, the entire dome is flooded with dense white ether commands, creating a foggy mist from the visuals I can see, but in the eyes of everyone watching, the 4-part arena still looks crystal clear. I don't know what it is, but there is far too much going on to analyze it. The announcer yells out about a minute later. That's right, 79 qualifiers from the last event are coming back. And for the challengers, the beasts submitted by the demons, we have 236 entries, ready to give you all the show you've been waiting for. The visuals swap down to the dome itself, focusing on the portion of the arena that is completely flat and smooth. Moments later, the floor starts glowing purple, and white orbs of light glow all over it in even patterns. The outlines of monsters start to show up, with dark purple, black, and white radiation leaking off of them. I have my suspicions on what these are, but they become very real in my mind once close-ups are shown. Demonic beasts look around with glowing purple eyes and bright white soul weapons. Many are mindless cyclopes, high orcs, ogre variations, and even some berserkers. Near the back I even spot a few mammoths and serpents. Yet, they all look like mindless drones, standing in place ready for orders. The white orbs around them disappear, and the announcer's voice comes back. The demon's defenses are set in place. Now let's make some noise for the mana-based fighters. 79 flashes of white light start to randomly appear all over the ring. Though they only float in the air in random places, the ether orbs carrying them do not let them loose. Once they cease, lords in this room begin disappearing one by one as well. The Wolfmen, Ava, and Ren all disappear before my eyes before I too am teleported into the dome, floating deep within the jungle full of enormous, tower-sized trees over 10,000 kilometers tall. The announcer's voice still rings in my ears as the restraints around my wrists and ankles glow white and unravel to fade away. Activate your fighting forms. Grab your soul weapons. Get ready for the main event. As the flashing white orbs all over the arena appear, the crowds get even more excited, and a bright 1-hour clock hovers in the sky. The rules are simple. A battle royale deathmatch with tiered prizes. Small, large, and grand prize. To win a small prize, granting you a permanent avatar upgrade outside the arena, and a guaranteed ticket into next month's main event, you must win 10 points in this 1-hour match. I feel the white orb around me begin to grow weaker, as it's set to naturally decay, and some of the thick ether commands in the atmosphere start to seep in. I start to analyze them as the announcer continues. If you are one of the new 214 lords that passed the preliminaries today, eliminating each other will be worth 1 point per kill. Killing one of the 79 qualified from last month will be worth 3 points. And lastly, killing any of the demonic beasts will be worth 5. At these words, the commands in the atmosphere become very clear to me. They're layered or suppressing shields, like the air is filled with a thick sea of metal we're going to have to swim through. I can already feel the effect it's having on the gravity inside this ether orb, meaning that fighting at full power will be a bit more difficult. Though, at the same time, it will make it so shockwaves of ether or mana won't interfere with battles happening elsewhere in the arena. It will make for far more intimate fights, like everyone is in their own isolated pockets of space. Having higher gravity and less freedom of movement will be much harder for the fighters in this dome, but it will certainly make the show better for the audience outside. To win this tournament's large prize, you must stack up 100 points. That will include a permanent avatar upgrade, and a 1-year contract to wield a relic-class soul weapon of your choosing. The orb around me completely disintegrates. Yet the clock in the sky still has not started to tick down yet. I pull 1% of borrowed stats, just to heighten my senses and be extra safe I'm not missing anything. But the dark forest I float in, thousands of kilometers off the ground, is silent. Above in the sky, there is nothing but the bright green dome. Finally, to win the grand prize of this month's arena event, you must be the last lord standing. Eliminate every single lord in this ring, have them submit a claim on a lesser prize early, or make them drop out entirely. Its contents are not available to be publicly shared, but if you win, you will go down in history as one of very few in the Arena Hall of Fame. Drop out. Accept current prize. 2 options float in my vision, one glowing white, and the other gray as I don't have any points to claim a prize. To start the clock on the match, we have a special guest. One that rarely gives us the honor of feeling his royal presence. My eyes widen at these words, and the imagery that appears in the sky above. Through the tops of the tall artificial trees, I see a lifelike projection of a shadowy figure without a face. They have long horns protruding out from their forehead, and make the entire top of the dome grow cold and dark. I can feel thousands of layers of ether commands between myself and the holographic projection cease to work properly as they should, and a deathly cold presence wash through me like sharp icicles. The familiar voice of Muriel Vermilion echoes through the entire dome. It is not often that I watch the arena event here in the Grand Citadel. Though this month there will be a special show. Win the grand prize, and you will be getting a personal congratulatory reward from me. The feeling of a devious aura washes through me, but I can't see any actual movement on the shadowy demon's face. Over 200 million lords in the seating area outside have all been struck with this terrifying cold aura as well, and went completely silent. Large amounts of them have even passed out and lost their grasps on the system itself. I feel the shadow in the sky turn its gaze my way, like it is amused, looking at a bug or a small child. And do not forget to stick around after the show. There will be a reveal of a new family member after all. The intensity of the cold increases abruptly, then dissipates just as fast. The whole sky returns to green, and warmth radiates through the arena and all the stands again. The 1-hour clock in the sky ticks down, and the announcer's voice returns to my ears as all of the passed-out lords in the stands regain their grasp on the system and wake up cheering like it never happened. A once-in-a-century appearance. Those who felt our Lord's presence will not forget it. The timer has started counting down. Let the main event begin. Chapter 836. He definitely looked my way, even through the countless layers of suppression commands in the air, and the fact that that was just another hologram. I could feel that Muriel's cold vibrations were much stronger, and much colder than anything I felt while talking to him over a video call before. I could feel them seeping into my body, and even past my second seal. Though, a grin comes onto my face as I'm certain the third seal deep inside me was not affected or probed at all. Good. Just in time. I think to myself while reaching into my item storage and pulling out my soul sword. I coat the blade in thick layers of white ether to make it blend in like a normal basic or relic class artifact. The deep crimson color is suppressed underneath. Yet, even with layers of ether covering it, noble vibrations still leak out from the blade. This is the first time I'm exposing it to the atmosphere after my training in the Sea of Corruption, and its rank up to level 3 of its evolution. While it too is suppressed by the 2 seals still holding back its full synchronicity with my cores, a burst of power still ripples outward. It is so strong that it even breaks my concentration on the suppression technique I was using back in the holding cell, and my raw noble vibrations leak out from my physique. I raise my borrowed stats up to a full 2% and activate my greater energy form in the same moment. Wisps of demonic energy flicker in my red energy form, and even circle my white sword, as I want to give more hints to those watching to believe what I'm about to show them. The most important watcher of all, the Vermilion family head. He may be furious with me, but I know one thing the demons can't pass up, and that is an ego boost for their race and family name. Time for the main event to begin indeed. I yell out while flying forward, spreading my perception outward as far as it can go in my current form and environment, getting a read on about 25% of the forest region I've been spawned into. It's enough to see a few dozen entries, the majority being first-class lords from the preliminaries, but a few unrecognizable, most likely from the grouping of lords that pre-qualified from last month's arena event. Tough luck, I whisper while leaving trails of ether, demonic energy, and fire behind me, making zigzag patterns through the thick trees in the forest. Notifications ring loud in my ears. Kill confirmed. X31. You've gained 1 point. X27. You've gained 3 points. X4. In less than 5 minutes, the entire area of forest I've spawned into is cleared out, and I make it to the mountain range beside it. I hold 39 points, and the small prize option to claim a permanent avatar's upgrade is already visible in my system status. This doesn't stop me from diving down into the massive mountainous region with tall peaks and deep valleys that are large enough to hold entire countries between them if I were to scale this to the human world's infrastructure. Kill confirmed. X14. You've gained 1 point. X12. You've gained 3 points. X2. My points raised to 57 after a few more minutes, but I finally stop my rampage once an image flashes in my mind. It's of Ava's spectate POV, where she too uses 2% of borrowed stats, crushing dozens of lords herself on the far side of this mountain range where I can't sense. She's looking at the visual of a giant white elf's greater form, one I'm certain is the doing of Ren's more aggressive personality. Its hands glow extremely white and grab onto the air itself. It looks as though this greater form is pulling on the ether commands in the air and ripping them apart like curtains to fly through with greater ease. White arrow-like needles come out from the Lord's hands as well when enemies come nearby, making a serpent, a mantis, and a team of 3 high orcs explode into fractured pieces all in the span of a few seconds. I send Ava a telepathy message. Hold them off, but stay together. Both of you need to drop out of the match. I'm going for the grand prize. Ava flies forward, trailing green and white mist behind her. But when Ren's attention moves her way, it's not friendly or recognizable at all. The massive white greater form tears away the suppression ether commands between them and flies forward with sharp eyes ready to kill. I roll my eyes and start eliminating even more entries in these mountains while I watch Ava swing her hammer upward to smash away a flurry of those odd white arrows, then collide with the elf's greater form. She borrows my telepathy skill and initiates peaceful contact, as they have met before out in the black desert of the wilderness briefly. At the same time, the announcer of this match yells out like he's having the time of his life. And we're off to an exciting start. Take a look at these highlights. Visuals of the handful of jet black Obsidian Clan berserkers are the main attraction, as they all have headed straight for the army of demonic beasts. This light show is not within my perception, but I get the admin's aerial view of what is going on. The second most popular attraction is deep within the forest region, on the side I didn't explore. The griffin that was staring me down the whole time I was in that holding cell is using its greater form to slaughter everything in its vicinity, stacking dozens of points similar to my own score. Another team of serpents all cluster inside the arena part of the floating rings and face off against a team of mantis creatures. The insects seem to have the upper hand, as they're more agile and fly through the rings, changing colors and claiming what look like temporary avatar buffs, chipping away at the serpents one by one. Lastly, I see myself slashing through first-class beasts with ease. What took many minutes to achieve before, I do now without batting an eye. Mammoths are crushed with a single fiery slash. Mantis monsters that ruled over entire full rounds in the preliminaries are sliced in two, and even berserker giants stand no chance. I haven't run into any yet that hold the same dark black form I fought in round 1, but I defeat some with gray auras without batting an eye. Kill confirmed. X42. You've gained 1 point. X35. You've gained 3 points. X7. My point total surges past 100, unlocking the large prize option in my system, and I hear the demonic servant announcer hyping me up as I approach the ongoing fight between Ava and Ren. For those of you that missed our round 1 match of the preliminaries, we have a few human entries in the arena today. This one is full of surprises. He broke his last soul weapon against a warrior from the Obsidian Clan, and now he pulls out another that looks to be similar strength. I think we have ourselves another contender for the grand prize. Visuals of other entries show up on the screen, with the crowd's live voting system showing the percent approval and guesses for who will make it to the end. Mine only shows 5%, while the griffin shows 12%. 3 berserker giants battling with demonic mammoths while holding off other beasts in the flat zone hold about 25% each, and the rest of the entries share less than 1% each. My attention pulls away from these visuals once the white and green auras of my allies come into view. I yell out loud, "Hey you two, heads up!" making them both turn their heads my way as I head right toward them, not slowing my speed. My sword leaves my grasp, letting it slowly orbit behind me in its natural state. This leaves both my hands free to grab both of the clashing lords' greater forms and separate them from each other. I activate my light magic to create a massive explosion of flames that seems real, but is really all a show. I stare into the angry elf's eyes, and they finally realize it's me. You're both on the same team here. Get along, and save your strength for the real fight that will begin soon. Then turn to Ava. Thank you. Now drop out and get Ren ready for what's to come. Your instincts brought them to this point. There has to be a good reason why. The illusion of dark flames fills the entire mountain range we're in, for over 1,000 kilometers around. It's far easier to spread my aura in this pocket of space, as Ren destroyed portions of the suppression commands. Ava and Ren disappear in flashes of white light as they drop out of the match, and I feel their presence immediately shift to a holding cell below the arena floor. I grab my blade again and kill every single thing that moves in this mountain range over the next few minutes, then head toward the moving rings in the sky. The war between serpents and insects is still in full swing, but I look to the sky and see the timer already falling below 40 minutes left. So, to speed things up, I pull more borrowed stats, bringing my total up to 5% and fly forward, leaving a trail of fire behind, with far more demonic energy in my aura than before. Chapter 837. Kill confirmed. X78. You've gained 1 point. X65. You've gained 3 points. X13. My points surge even higher as I make it into the zone filled with floating rings. Ding! Avatar buff activated. 50% increase in fire summoning for 10 minutes. Ding! Avatar buff activated. 25% increase in all attacks for 3 minutes. Ding! Avatar buff activated. 30% increase in speed for 5 minutes. Ding! 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 Every single ring I fly through, another temporary buff is placed on my fake avatar. They stack on top of each other infinitely, as far as I can tell. The range of motion and energy surging through this layer of ether commands around me certainly increases, but at this point, I'm not relying on it even for cover at all. There is no noticeable difference in my abilities as I fly around this portion of the dome, slicing serpents and mantis lords into pieces and dominating in my domain. Some of the stronger ones that have hints of auras from the star sector of elites, they try to fight back. However, many of the weaker first-class lords freeze in place when I enter their presence. The noble vibrations that leak out from my avatar while pulling 5% of my borrowed stats is too strong. Their abilities to grasp the system are restricted, and they never stand a chance. In doing so, I clear out this entire quarter of the dome in just over 10 minutes, stacking my points even further and setting my sights on the next flat, smooth zone. However, I do feel my second seal warming up after this display. The commentary of the probing and tampering from Muriel Vermilion at the start of this match, loosening this seal, and the increased use of power to clear the stage faster has already begun to make my ears ring slightly, and feel a warm sensation begin pushing against the inside of my body. It is not affecting my ability to fight at all. So with a trail of demonic energy and flames behind me, I soar downward, out from the flying rings, and toward the massive purple and black explosions of an army of demonic beasts fighting 3 berserkers. There are only 3 feeds that the announcer of the event is swapping between: the footage of me dominating in the floating ring zone, the berserker giants fending off an entire demonic army, and the griffin in the forest region battling against a rock golem and an extremely powerful armored monkey lord. The number of entries visible on the feeds are quickly dwindling after my massacre, and the odds of who the audience thinks will make it to the end shift slightly. My odds have evened out around 10%, the same as the griffin, whose odds have lowered, while the majority of the crowd still have their money on the Obsidian Clan berserkers. I was here for round 1, you guys don't understand. That human really beat one of the Obsidian Clan's warriors. He could win it all. No way, man. I've been watching this arena event for over 200 years. The only thing that can beat the Obsidian Clan is when Andres or Cisco Vermilion stop participating in the event. Or when they have mutant beasts let out. The mammoths get pretty strong sometimes. True. But what about the griffin? I don't think I've ever seen one show up in the arena. Though, I've heard there are still some fresh worlds left in the star system of elites. I'm telling you, there may have only been a few million of us watching, but that human is different. I hear some of the comments from the crowds echo through the live feeds as I fly forward on a crash course toward these obsidian berserkers and the demonic forces in question. My first target isn't the 3 black mana-based greater forms. It's the scattered demonic beasts all around. I send waves of dense white ether and mana down at a wave of cyclopses and high orcs, shattering them to pieces and hearing roars sound out as others are burned alive from the fire residue left behind from the outer layer of my slash. Kill confirmed. X21. You've gained 5 points. X21. A few of the stronger cyclopes that survived my attacks fly upward my way as kill notifications ring in my ear. Behind them, the ogre variations and demonic berserkers lock onto me like an automated target and send attacks my way under a mind control curse. I can feel noble vibrations rippling off every single one of them. They are of varying strengths, but there is a very odd sensation I get from examining so many at the same time. It's like I'm sensing the aura of a single noble demon. It is just spread out evenly like miniature clones. There is no variation in the vibration signatures. Oddly enough, they all feel exactly the same as that Cyclopes guardian I killed under Ellipsia when I first arrived in the upper realm. Kill confirmed. X36. You've gained 5 points. X36. More notifications for kills ring out as I send waves of ether and demonic flames down at these weak replicas of noble bloodlines. Sure, they can suppress a first-class lord with their noble blood, but with my new understanding of my own path progression after training in the Sea of Corruption, I'm positive this is just borrowed strength, and all from the same demon. The only way for them to get stronger would be to siphon more blood from the source of this power. Kill confirmed. X14. You've gained 5 points. X14. I eliminate a full row of 14 demonic serpents and yell out into the sky, "Weaklings! This is nothing compared to the power of a real noble demon." My scream and laugh afterward is caught by the live recordings as I fly closer to the center of this war taking place. Each of the Obsidian Clan's berserkers is clashing against the tusks of a demonic mammoth. The shockwaves from the attacks they're throwing out can be felt over 5,000 kilometers away despite the ether-suppressing commands in the air. I can feel the strength of the vibrations rippling off these lifeless, mind-controlled demonic mammoths is many times higher than all of the beasts I just sliced through, though at the same time they're transfused with the same exact noble demon's blood. They're just able to handle much more than the other creatures. Their hollow purple eyes burn bright with ether-infused light, and I feel their light purple tusks slamming against the sword, axe, and massive spiked war hammer that the 3 berserkers battling them wield. As I fly over the corpses and broken soul weapons of many of the other demonic beasts between myself and this epic duel taking place, I do spot a few stragglers that these berserkers did not kill on their way over. Kill confirmed. X11. You've gained 5 points. X11. Though my focus is more steady on the vibrations coming off of the black greater forms of the berserkers. As of right now, my senses are in a much more heightened and natural state than they were in round 1 of the preliminaries. These 3 monsters all share a very similar power, the warm black aura giving them strength to collide against the noble vibrations, but at the same time, I can feel that each one of them is slightly different. Unlike the demonic forces around me with shared borrowed power, these berserkers are unique and have grown their power separately. It briefly makes me wonder if the noble form I've absorbed from the demons and begun to grow myself is borrowed power too, but then I remember what's trapped behind my 3rd seal. Maybe the seed to start it was borrowed, but this path is mine. It's much different than these mindless drones. I think to myself while pulling a few more borrowed stats to bring my total up to 7%. I curve downward through the sky, landing in the center of the evenly strength brawl going on between these 6 fighters. There are small purple scars on 2 of the berserkers' greater forms, but the crazed look in their sharp green eyes tells me they're just getting started. One of the mammoth's tusks is already starting to crack, and all 3 of them have wounds on their limbs starting to slow them down. I can predict the outcome of this battle quite easily. It would take another 15 or 20 minutes, but the berserkers would win, creating an exciting main event tiebreaker where the 3 of them fight for the grand prize slot. This is what the admins had in mind, choosing the strengths of the demonic beasts and placement of all the lords very strategically. However, I'm here to ruin it all. I grin, sending out a devastating slash filled with red and purple fire, spinning my body in a circle to create a circular slash that expands and collides with all 6 of the strongest fighters in this event. The noble vibrations in my fire begin to disrupt and overpower the vibrations in the mammoths, and the berserker giants all try to block my wave of flames with their relic-class soul weapons. One of the mammoth's tusks that was fractured before shatters to pieces, and the brunt of my blast slices it in half. Another mammoth's whole left side is burned off, losing an eye and a leg in the process, while the 3rd one times a block and a counterattack perfectly, but is still flipped over into an awkward position on its side. The berserker with a long sword blocks my attack too, but they're pushed backward, forced to retreat. The axe wielder tried to slice my wave of fire in half, but the density is too great. It's engulfed in flames too hot, and it's beginning to eat away at the monster's greater form. Shrieks of agony come out of its jagged-toothed mouth. The final berserker holding a war hammer watches the first 5 enemies fail to properly counter, and jumps upward and slams its hammer down on my wave of fire to use its force as momentum to dodge. It's flung in the direction of the mammoth that fell on its side, and takes advantage of this to slam the spiked end of its hammer down on the underside of its head to finish a fatal strike. 2 lets out a war cry and turns to me. "Bring it on!" I yell out while 1 remaining injured mammoth and 2 angry berserker giants holding a sword and a hammer stare at me with intent to kill in their eyes. The 3rd berserker still flails about, being burned by my flames, but looks like it will manage to survive as its black aura starts to burst through the red fire surrounding it. Chapter 838. The human lord has joined the fight. He's caused 2 of the demonic mammoths to meet their end, but all 3 of the Obsidian clan's warriors are looking to settle the score for stealing their glory. The announcer yells out, zooming in on the live feeds and playing back the footage of my attack over and over. The 230 million lords watching see a wave of purple and red fire fill their views of the battle. Only 1 kill notification rings in my ear, as I only finished off 1 mammoth, and the other was finished off by the berserker with a war hammer. "You're a lot stronger than the one I fought earlier today," I remark, sending another wave of fire to the isolated berserker that jumped over my last attack. My greater form is about 1/5 the size of these berserkers, but my power, speed, and intensity of noble vibrations is certainly topping theirs. The hammer-wielding monster sees my attack coming again and jumps upward, soaring tens of kilometers into the sky in a single leap to dodge. I throw another wave of flames in my follow-through at the 2 other berserkers coming at me from the other side. Massive explosions of fire fill the area, bursting outward hundreds of kilometers even with the ether-suppressing commands all around us. The sword wielder I pushed back earlier gets slammed with a direct hit on my second attack, and the final mammoth gets caught in the crossfire and shockwave of both my strikes. It isn't agile enough to jump or dodge and has to block head-on with its tusks. Another kill confirmation rings in my ears as its purple tusks shatter and it's sliced to pieces. The sword-wielding berserker giant that took a full-powered slash from 7% of my borrowed stats managed to survive, but just like its axe-wielding partner, it is engulfed in a wave of flames. Screeches from both of the flaming berserker giants echo through my ears as I feel their power surge even higher. They enjoy this kind of thing. The battle would not be fun for them if they won in a single blow, and they wouldn't be able to grow stronger either. I'm certain they weren't holding back, but when I see the dark obsidian aura bursting out from the flames, and both giants' greater forms expanding by over 20% in mere seconds, I can't help but match their wide grins and laugh back. Above me, the hammer-wielding monster comes arching downward after its leap, and from all sides, there are full-powered incoming attacks. The human's attack was enough to kill off the last of the demon's distractions, but the Obsidian clan won't fall that easy. "He is truly done for now," echoes in my ear from the announcer hyping up the play-by-play. At the same time, I pull another 3% of borrowed stats, bringing my total up to 10%. The moment I do, crimson leaks out from deep within my blade. My noble vibrations become even more intense, and a loud buzzing sound starts to push against my inner ear. This is what I get for using so much power with my seals still activated, and not even using my noble form, but I won't have to wait too much longer. I take a deep breath in and out, and my eyes glow bright white while I jump upward and twist my body again. A spiral of red, white, and purple flames erupts out from my blade just as the hammer, sword, and axe are all converging less than 10 meters away from my greater form each. The sounds of relic-class soul weapons cracking and noble vibrations suppressing the systems of warriors from planets where they never met their match makes a static sound buzz through the air. Even the smooth arena floor beneath my feet quivers, as 3 jet-black greater forms all around me get hit with a direct attack in the chest, and bright white splinters of energy fracture through all of them like broken glass. The berserkers still don't die in a single hit, but I keep spinning around, sending more and more attacks their way midair while they have no weapons to block any longer. This all happens in under a tenth of a second. For an average lord looking in, it appears as though I released a shockwave of energy that blew them all backward when they tried to attack me. But the high-speed recording devices show me spinning around dozens of times and obliterating my enemies. 3 more kill-confirmed notifications ting in my ears while the entire flat zone of the arena explodes with a devastating pressure. It looks like a miniature star is exploding as the black, white, purple, red, and green energy waves are ejected from a single point. There are no enemies left in the floating ring zone to feel or see these waves. The mountain range is silent and abandoned as well. However, one zone remains active, and almost every single lord left in this artificial forest freezes with fear once the aura that ripples through them is felt. Every lord except one. The white greater form of the first-class griffin elegantly slashes through an armored monkey that froze during the blast, and dives beneath a massive branch to finally crush the core of a black rock golem on its underside that has been using other lords as cover to regenerate. Wisps of white wind magic, ether, and warm vibrations of their own are left in flowing patterns as the griffin lets out a majestic screech and flaps its wings to finish off every other frozen lord in the forest. One by one, the entries on the live feeds all disappear, getting picked off by the griffin, to only leave 2 entries left over the next few minutes. However, the announcer does not highlight this creature's ruthless yet elegant display one bit. The only visuals shown on the big live screens are of instant playbacks of my release of energy to take out the warriors from the Obsidian clan. The entire audience is left in awe. He's really done it. The human pulled it off. This is a one-of-a-kind arena event today. Lords, for the first time in hundreds, no thousands of years, our champion is not going to be a demon or a berserker giant. The announcer keeps hyping up the crowd and they keep feeding into it. The stands all around the ring are shaking, and every lord has jumped up from their seats. I told you. You should have seen him in round 1. The human is going to win it all.
Impossible.
A lower race could never. This has to be some kind of trick. Did you see the color of his fire? It has purple and black energy in it. See, look at that replay. Could he be using demonic energy? Is this another one of the demon's tests? Who cares? The payout is over 100 times what I put in. Come on, human. Take home the grand prize. The only other lord left in the dome now is that griffin. I calmly float in the center of the flat zone, as I see the results of my actions through a live spectate feed. Everything is perfectly falling into place. All I have to do now is eliminate this griffin and trigger the final phase of my plan. I can see its flight patterns twisting out from the forest and heading my way already. I don't have to do a thing. Once I see the flash of white light show up on the horizon, I reach out and grab the sword that has been leisurely orbiting around me while I waited, then point it forward and call out, "Hey, if you're an intelligent beast, drop out so we don't have to fight. I don't want to hurt you if I don't have to." It's partially a tease, but at the same time partially the truth. I'm going to win this event no matter what. If this half-bird, half-lion wants to drop out and claim a large prize now, it'd work out best for both of us. Though it doesn't slow down one bit. I pull my blade back in a defensive stance and brace for impact. Well, at least I warned you. I murmur out while the monster's taloned feet collide with my blade at their max velocity. I sense dozens of ether-imbued wind blades all swirling around in the air, curving around toward my back while I'm distracted with this block. The warm vibrations I feel from our contact are extremely intense. They're pretty close to the strength of one of the berserkers I just killed, actually. Then, when I look it in the eyes, a wave of energy bursts into my psyche and a loud, confident voice echoes in my mind. I would never trust the words of a noble demon. You give these lords false hope in the form of a lesser race, only to tear it away and show them despair once you win this event. Despicable. Dishonorable. I will not surrender to the likes of you. A false noble race. One that should not exist in the bounds of the system in the first place. You demons are a virus that must be exterminated no matter the cost. The griffin glows white-hot, and an eruption of power tens of times greater than what it was giving off before explodes outward from its true body deep within its greater form. My eyes widen, but not out of fear. It is amusement and pure surprise. This amount of power completely overwhelms what I have available to me in my current form. It is pretty similar to the strength level of a real noble. If I was just the strength of Andras Vermilion, the past lord of the Ellipsia Citadel, I may have actually been in trouble. However, I am not that weak. Behind my suppressed power, my perception is still hundreds of times faster than what my body is outwardly showing. So, I have plenty of time to react and think this situation through. I do the only logical counter, pulling another 5% of borrowed stats, and let my second seal dissolve on the spot. Chapter 839. The instant my second seal dissolves, the hot pressure building up in my head and around the inside of my body is instantly released. In the same fraction of a second, I pull more borrowed stats to bring my total up to 15%, and waves of heat burst out from my body. I feel the outer shell of ether commands I've been using to create a fake avatar in order to fit in while in the Grand Citadel completely evaporate too. The 5 gray crowns above my head disappear, and the suppression of my ether and noble vibrations is lifted a level further. The refined ether in my body can finally meld properly with my mana control and demonic energy again, and my greater form grows tens of times denser as my true soul energy strength floods in. At the same moment, I activate my noble human form. Yet, instead of shining bright with an ethereal glow, I allow all of the demonic energy I've stored in my demon lord's core to flood out, suppressing the crimson aura that glows from my sword and covering the shimmering white body that grows from the center of my greater form. My bones, muscles, and blood all expand, as my noble form is no energy manifestation. It is a real body transformation, pushing the weaker version of a third-class human into a noble being. I grow from just over 2 meters tall in my base state to over 20 meters in my noble form, and my greater energy form saturated with soul energy grows by 10 times as well, forcing my presence in the dome to grow to over 600 meters tall almost instantaneously. This griffin's elegant greater form towered over me moments ago, and its burning hot claws were each wrapping around my soul sword, equaling it in size. There were dozens of ether-imbued wind crescents all converging at my back, each one larger than my entire greater form. But now, a demonic roar erupts from the white burst of the griffin's finishing move. Its wind crescents hit my back and are instantly consumed like dry, brittle leaves burning in a raging fire, and I push my blades forward as it grows, sending the griffin flying backward as now I tower over it, double its size. Horns grow out from my forehead, and I use my conceal skill to replicate all of the features that Draco Vermilion's greater energy form had back in the lower realm. My third and final seal still holds back my high noble vibrations, as well as the full activation of my final ranked-up buff, the astral form. Yet, now as I release this power, I feel waves of vibrations coming off me equal to the strength I released after my first few days training with Seraphel in the High Orc Tower. The waves I'm producing are no imitation or even suppressed version of the real thing. The aura I'm giving off is that of a true noble demon. Every single suppression command in the arena dome is instantly activated. Yet still, they make it through every layer despite being suppressed. The walls of the arena are blasted by my hot aura, and small amounts even leak out into the Grand Citadel's open air. The crowds surrounding the arena feel it, just like Muriel's display when he showed up as a hologram before the fight began. Some second-class lords start to feel weak, but no one passes out or loses their grips on the system. All of the suppression commands and defensive arrays in the arena dome are working as they should. Extra arrays are automatically activated outside the dome as well once my aura is sensed, and the issue is fixed in a matter of seconds. Once it does, this results in a loud wave of cheers, matched with the announcer of the event playing back this display over and over while the waves of demonic energy and white wind magic fill the dome. The flying ring zone's movement commands are all disrupted, and many begin falling from the sky. There are avalanches in the mountain ranges, and a few of the nearest trees in the massive forest crack like porcelain and fall over. Even the smooth ground beneath me shatters, and auto-mending ether commands begin repairing the cracks before my eyes. Yet, surprisingly, the first-class lord that took on the brunt of my unsealed aura shockwave is still alive. When I register their movements coming toward me again, I find they're actually even more alive than they were moments ago. The griffin has grown stronger, hotter, and the ether it's pushing out more refined. I let out a loud, deep, demonic laugh while fighting back, swinging my purple sword forward to clash with the hot white talons of an eagle. Upon contact, I can feel vibrations surging through this creature like nothing I've ever felt before. Well, actually, it is similar to one thing I've witnessed. A creation back on the human world, when I was first testing out my craftsmanship skill, imbuing random items with random skills. I found that I could imbue element stones with a plunderer skill too powerful for it to handle, and it resulted in a magic item that sucked up as much mana as it could until hitting critical mass and detonating to destroy everything in sight. The griffin's body starts to look very similar to this magic item, absorbing the raw energy of the ether commands in the atmosphere despite the backlash. All of the raw energy coming off my own aura swirls in toward the griffin too, and I can even see it using its own soul energy and divine core as extra energy sources, sacrificing its life force for a more powerful blast. The creature's confident voice echoes in my head again. My contacts in the lower realm warned me of your arrival, but their measure of your strength was far lower than what you truly hold. No matter, my sacrifice will give us more time. The upper realm cannot be sealed. Hey!
Im Nodamun.
Our goals are more aligned than you think. I yell back through the link, feeling this monster's cores and energy pathways heat up more and more. So much so, that the avatar commands connecting this first-class lord to the arena's teleportation arrays are starting to dissolve. The explosion it's trying to trigger will actually kill it. At such close range, I might have to borrow double the stats I have right now in order to walk away unharmed as well. No demon? With those noble vibrations? You think I'm naive enough to believe any other race could ever walk that path? You can fool the rest of the Grand Citadel that has already submitted to the demons to live in their fake paradise here. But I will never trust a word out of your mouth. I'd die 1,000 times over to have the honor of killing a noble like you. I feel the monster core begin to vibrate uncontrollably, like it's triggering a collapse. In less than a second, it will detonate itself, and no words I say back will stop it or make it drop out. There is one easier option to get the same result. Eliminate this griffin from the arena event myself. Though it's not that easy. If I were to counterattack and break its cores myself, it would still detonate and kill itself. However, if I use far more precision, shattering its avatar and bringing its HP low enough to trigger a simulated death before it explodes, it could be teleported to a suppression chamber fast enough to survive. I smirk, pull another 5% of stats, and concentrate to force my greater form to specialize in speed and agility alone. Maybe if you talk to my friends, you'll trust me more. I'd rather you kill yourself taking out a real enemy than to waste it on me, is all I reply back into our telepathy link before twisting out of the way. Bright purple slashes glow in the air, cutting through weak points in the griffin's greater form. Its legs first, then its wings, then precise blows to slash through flesh and high-damage areas that do not collide with its expanding core or high-density ether pathways. Some slashes look awkward, like pinholes slicing through small areas of flesh, while others are near fatal. One attack runs straight through its heart, half a dozen more slice through its neck. In less than 0.03 of a second, over 80 direct slashes blaze through the griffin's greater form and true body. It goes from pure elegant white to a dark purple blur of sword slashes. Like a spider's web, only avoiding a single small area deep within its true body's chest. The demonic energy erupts outward as all of my sword slashes collide with each other, pressing inward with enough force to counteract the outward pressure of its detonation, just in time for a bright flash of light to teleport it away from the ring. I laugh loudly while emerging from the attack, letting even more intense vibrations slam against the inside of the dome from all angles. No real system notifications ring in my inner ear, so I believe my plan worked. However, I shattered my fake avatar shell, so no more arena notifications ring in my ear either. I did not receive a final kill confirmation. My grinning demonic face emerges from the white and purple explosion in the spectate feed that runs live in the back of my mind. And on the leaderboards, my human face is the only entry left, with bright grand prize winner in bold text beneath it. Even though I cannot hear notifications in the fake avatar shell I was wearing, the admins controlling the live feeds have made sure that all screens show I've won. They can't let a noble demon lose by a technicality after all. It would ruin their reputation. As I look up to the sky, the top of the green dome starts to grow dark again just like it did before the match. Chapter 840. With minutes left on the clock to spare. That does it. Every single demonic beast is eliminated. Every single Obsidian Clan Berserker. All of the pre-qualifiers from last month. Every single qualifier from the preliminary rounds earlier today. They are all gone. Eliminated. Only a single entry remains. The instant replay, slowing my movements down by over 1,000 times, slicing through the griffin, shattering their pristine white greater form into thin slices with devastating demonic blows, is repeated on the live feed over and over. Close-ups of the bright purple eye on the base of my soul sword are shown in perfect quality. Then shift back to the visuals of my demonic appearance and growing horns as I emerge from the explosions. The entry card showing my human face shifts, now looking just like Draco Vermilion. What's happening? Why does that human look like a demon now? See, I told you the flames were purple. Ah, my bet's still paid out. Who cares if it's a demon or not? No way. They tricked us. Of course they did. Are you stupid? A lower race killing 3 Obsidian Clan Berserkers? Of course it's impossible. What? The discussion in the stands erupts with outrage, excitement, and despair. No one knows what to think or how to act. The imagery of a demon is showing up on their live feed, but it is not one of the Vermilion family that they recognize. Then, a wave of understanding begins to wash through the crowds, and at the same time the announcer guiding the show catches on, yelling out for everyone to hear while the top of the dome continues to saturate in a dark shadowy aura. That's right. I told you all you were getting a special appearance from a new Vermilion family member that just arrived from the lower realm. Less than 30 days without a single avatar upgrade, here to present his raw noble power to the citizens of the Grand Citadel, and those he will soon rule over in the green zone of the upper realm. I present to you, Draco Vermilion. In response, I show off even more, lifting my sword in the air and activating my demonic energy manipulation skill to flood the area with even more dense purple soul energy as it begins to meld with my unsealed ether stores. My noble vibrations collide with the outside of the dome again with greater force than last time, but none of the upgraded automatic suppression arrays are activated. Instead, a small amount leaks out to make the crowds around the arena feel my presence again. The announcer begins to show more highlights of my last few fights, but at the same time, the shadows at the top of the dome all start to form together again into the imagery of a longhorn demon. All of the playback cuts off, and Muriel's simulated energy form is the only thing the live feeds focus on again, as this shadowy figure almost never appears in front of the masses. Though, as his cold aura clashes against mine, more understanding washes over the crowds as to why he is really here. The deep and commanding voice that welcomed the start of this main event round now echoes through the dome again, down toward me. I cannot see any facial features on the shadowy monster, nor can I even see where their true body is, but I can feel the devious aura of a figure grinning and looking down at me like prey, or more like I am nothing but a cute, helpless animal. You've won, as expected of a noble demon. These first-class lords and so-called elites are nothing compared to you. What a grand stage to introduce yourself to the green zone of the upper realm indeed. My grand prize to you will be 100 years of personal training, one-on-one as my disciple, and of course, a citadel of your own once it is through. Mensa, Ellipsia, or even have a new one constructed to your liking. You are family, so it is only right I treat you with honor and respect. All of the lower races watching will be your lords to command soon. Is this a satisfactory welcome present for you? Many second-class and weaker first-class lords outside the arena pass out from the shockwave of energy coming off Muriel's energy clone, but more suppression and shielding commands are activated again to keep these vibrations out. The incredible visual of 2 enormous demonic greater forms conversing is shown for hundreds of millions of lords to see. Some scream out with fright, others with excitement, and many freeze in place with fear or awe. I reply with a smile of my own. Yes, I believe that prize is satisfactory for the average noble demon rising from the lower realm. Then I grip my sword tighter and swing it around in a circle to create a purple and white sparkling light show around me while I point my blade up at the demon again. Though I am no average noble demon, I believe I have what it takes to sit on your throne, to become a royal family head. As I lift my blade in the air, all of the lords in the crowd surrounding stands that were reacting or making noise before stop. Eyes widen all around the ring, and everyone freezes. Even the announcer's mouth stays wide open. I hold my ground and confident stance through the eerie silence, as well as the growing cold aura that pumps out from the energy manifestation above me. It feels like a towering monster, looking down at a tiny bug that just bit a giant, expecting for it to fall. Instead of rage or anger, only loud laughter shakes the dome. Disappointment, failure, even pity is all the demonic force is able to send through its vibrations, as it expected more from the noble demon than a public challenge like this. To question one's power, and publicly state a wish to take another's throne, to diminish a demon's position and honor, no matter the difference in rank, this is a direct and indefensible attack. Are you challenging me to a public duel? A mere noble demon in your first month in the upper realm? Do you really wish for me to make a martyr out of you? This is the grand prize you desire, Muriel states back in a loud and demanding voice. I laugh back, not backing down. I fooled everyone here into believing I was a human, to give the lower races some hope that maybe they had a chance at power after all, only for them to see the cruel reality of demons' domination of the upper realm. Then again, maybe it wasn't a show for them, but an act to buy more time and fool you. Darkness fills every corner of the dome around me after these words, and I simultaneously send messages to my generals and allies scattered across the upper realm. A ping sounds in Maria's ear while she watches the live surveillance feeds of the Ellipsia Citadel. In the last few minutes, there have been multiple waves of blue light coming from the direction 3 other generals headed off to just hours ago. Yet, her vision is far more concentrated on the scans of incoming forces from another direction. The Mensa Citadel has an army on the way, just as she expected. There appears to be one high-level energy source, that of at least a noble demon's energy readings, 2 at that of a first-class demon, and over 10,000 around the second and third-class strength level in the form of demonic servants. Their exact imagery is still not clear on the live feeds, as they are still over 500,000 kilometers away. But, at the speed they're traveling, it's only a matter of minutes before they arrive. She uses the Citadel's communication systems to alert Torvak and Asik, who are down below in the High Orc Tower's public district, putting the final touches on the 8,000 Ellipsia Citadel's freed slaves that used to be demonic servants as well. Time's up. We have company. The final phase of the Green Zone takeover has begun. She turns off the transmission device once both the warlords receive this message, pulls out her soul sword, and calmly walks down a narrow corridor until stopping right before a sealed room. With the activation of a simple ether command, the door slides open, and inside 2 brain-dead first-class demons rest in rejuvenation pods. Beside them, their dragons sleep. However, they will never wake up again. Before any of the 4 beings in the room even register she has arrived, blue and white light fills the air. Crystalline source resin shimmers in rainbow-refracting patterns in the form of clear cuts on the demons' and dragons' necks and through their cores. All 4 avatars and bonded souls are shattered to pieces like glass exploding under too much pressure. Level-up notifications ring in her inner ear, and at the same time, the warning messages that 2 Vermilion family demons have just been killed are triggered through every demon in the 5 great families. Maria wastes no time and jumps upward, activating ether commands to leave through the central tower's ceiling, then pointing her gaze off in the distance where the real enemy approaches. Simultaneously, Abby, Ari, and Raven all dive down deep below the green clouds of the upper realm. All 3 of them have their greater forms activated, using all of the speed they can to fly forward, staying inside a dense green aura from Abby and her glowing staff as she leads the flight up front. This green protective bubble of restoration makes both Ares and Raven's bodies pulse with sparkling green and yellow light, and every time another wave of blue noble vibrations explodes out from where they're headed, they flow through them like their bodies are translucent. When the 3 generals break through the lowest level of clouds, the scene of an enormous army of demonic wyverns, berserkers, ogres, orcs, cyclopes, and even some unidentifiable beasts all staring forward in mind-controlled, mindless states, surrounding the coast of the Sea of Corruption, is a terrifying sight. These three, out of any of the generals, know what kind of power can be infused into monsters after their death while training on Kelfur. The fact that even as the sea before them glows bright blue, sending waves of radiation outward that destroy hundreds of thousands of kilometers worth of landscape, and even melt the leftover towering pieces of the citadel sticking out from the sea, the demonic army stands ready for battle, unfazed. The fast-travel orb that was purchased hours ago from the central tower of Ellipsia, holding a Scarlet Clan berserker and a dragon in its human form, finally approaches the Grand Citadel. A demonic servant on duty begins to trigger the automated commands and prompts, but is unusually slow today. The majority of this admin's mind is elsewhere, consumed by the once-in-a-lifetime stare-down of the Grand Citadel's lord, a royal family head, and a noble demon that just publicly challenged it for dominance. Even in the lower realm, many galactic players are moving their pieces. It is as though the fabric of reality has waited for a perfect breaking point where all chaos can break loose, and now it has chosen to snap. A telepathy message from deep space, from a true Chord demon named Pluto in the new temporary task force of the lower realm's Vermilion family, is transmitted to Bree, a yellow Chord human calmly cultivating on a ring of civilized structures rotating around a red star. We've officially moved out. The attack on the Great Belt of Brimia is starting. Bree gets up from her seated position and instantly calls Alvaron and every commander to bring this to their attention. Everyone picks up instantly, but the yellow Chord slug that floats in alone on its home planet has its active mind present elsewhere. It is focused on the security feeds watching a frozen asteroid millions of kilometers away, built as a temporary prison before the generals left the lower realm. It begins to crack, and the ice holding the army of first-class true Chord demons from the Morvale family inside shatters to dust, allowing these enemies to finally move free again.